Alright, hello and welcome back to the Divine Deception. Or should I just say Divine Deception? Either way, we're going to be loading from the last save. Oh yeah, this is the end of the last story here. Person has no memories of what they've done. Oh yeah, I remember this. I guess since I can read doing this again, I can elaborate on my decisions here. Yeah, well, I can understand her argument that a person did something, all those gruesome things, just bump their head and get off. Thing is, if there is absolutely no memories back, they're functionally a completely different person. In other words, the person responsible has already died. And if they put their body into the... If they put their memory and replace the other person, and the other person has become the monster, then the other person's already gone, so yeah. Huh, even though this person in reality didn't do anything. Alright, scenario 3. Time travel. Even though they're about to become the monster, physical acts committing a crime is important. Yeah, and I believe I brought up Minority Report for this one because that movie did go into a decent bit about, how do you... But how do you define crime? Can you punish someone for that sort of thing? I thought it was interesting, at least. Alright, last example. The monster's in their prime, a rift in space and time, just you and the monster. Punch them, they'll feel it, but they can't die, neither will remember anything. That's just... However, this would be just pain for pain's sake. And they did some pretty terrible things. Is still right? Oh, wow, you're quite the empathetic one, you know? Well, I guess this is a bit of soul searching here. I don't think I'd feel very satisfied. At best, it would just make me feel better in the short term, but it wouldn't give me the peace necessary for that. It's consistent if you look at it the right way. Still seems a tad odd to me. At the very least, you have a stance. Locked. Alright, we're going to be continuing on with our investigative person here, Mercury, who is being chased by Thane. However... Alright, he seems to have been saved by... However, he seems to have been saved by Lara. The thing is, we know Lara is part of the same faction as Thane, so why would she be helping? Could this all be a setup? Let's find out. Over under. Let's set the scene for a moment. Right now, I'm trapped in the middle of a small, dark, and metal container. I was stuck holding the nearest opening closed. On the other side of the opening was a masked killer dressed all in black. They had a gun, and as was just demonstrated, shooting the container repeatedly might just pierce through it. Inside was some redhead who was seemingly also being hunted by this killer. She didn't seem particularly friendly towards me. I didn't even know if I could trust her that much long term. However, in this specific case, we shared a common goal in not immediately dying. Right now, we're on the deck of a ghost ship out to sea in the middle of the night. People have been killed in the hull. It's unclear if there's anyone else on the ship. Odds are good they're in league with this masked killer. Oh, my phone isn't working. Got all that? Good, those are the pieces we're dealing with here. And scene. Well, damn, it keeps shooting randomly like that. We're gonna get hit. As soon as I started shouting, I once again felt the container begin to open up. He must have thought my reaction might have signaled I let go. An incorrect guess. With as much effort as I could muster, I kept the container closed. Things were looking pretty hopeless, though. I looked over at my fellow target to see if she had any input. As it turns out, she had an idea of her own. A solid kick, she opened the other side. That side opens? Being honest, I had no idea, but it makes sense, I guess. But it wasn't obvious from the inside. I feel like to know that, you need to be pretty familiar with these sorts of containers. Well, forget it. I was gonna look a gift horse in the mouth. I began to run the other side of the container. However, before getting too far, the other target put a hand on my arm. She also put a finger to her lips. It was pretty esoteric, but I got the message. We waited 3 seconds. Then we sprinted out the front entrance. As expected, we had a bit of a lead. See, hearing the other side open like that, hearing my moving footsteps, Thane, clever killer was, meant to circle around and ambush us. Luckily, my partner in escape one step ahead of him and decided to just leave out the front. That trick got us one step ahead. However, one step ahead isn't very far ahead. As expected, Thane was quick to catch on to his mistake. Honestly, with how incredibly calculated Thane is, I'm quite curious how the fake Thane was able to defeat him. Because remember, that story explicitly started with our protagonist, who we still don't know his true name, by the way. Yeah, he killed the original Thane and basically took his place to hide his crime. Before we knew it, we were right back with the same old game of chase. And since he had a gun, we had a bit of a limitation on how we could run. If we didn't make consistent turns behind cover, he could just shoot us, and that would be that. Luckily, there were plenty of metal containers around the deck. The maze that I once cursed now felt like a blessing. Left, right. Had to keep in mind the edges of the ship. It was kind of fun in a disturbing way. That thought was a bad sign towards my mental stability. This was really just the highest stakes game of tag there ever was. And I was always pretty good at tag. It wasn't just the game of physical endurance. Not really. I mean, maybe if you play on a plain, empty field, but if you play on a playground, then it's a game of strategic encirclement. Every playground piece was a tool that the runners could use to try and throw off the chaser. Fundamentally, in an open field with no interference, if the runner and chaser are of equal physical endurance, the chaser has a huge advantage. After all, the runner just needs to lag for a moment within the range of the chaser's reach and it'll all be over. But if you climb playground equipment, you can bank time. You can be 20 times faster to get off and away from the equipment to initially climb it. Staying mindful of where the threats are approaching and what your exits were, it's impossible to get caught. I remember I'd always argue for zombie tag, because if we just play regular tag, I'd get bored. No one would ever catch me. Bold words I know from a person currently moments from being shot by an approaching murderer. The days of the playground had long passed me, and being honest, I was starting to feel some exhaustion. I wasn't the only one. Looking at my fellow target, they also seemed to be struggling, and someone keeping up with me. From the sound of Thane's approach, however, he seemed to be showing no signs of wear or tear. He was getting closer and closer. This couldn't hold, but what to do? Keep running. I could barely hear that, and I said quietly, obviously, you keep running. Why would... Oh, I see. I get what's getting on. My fellow escapee was slowing down as we turned the corner. I guess what was about to happen. We turned the corner and, yep, she instantly stopped, started bending down. Her attention was now directed on the other side of the container. She was waiting for Thane. She's going to directly attack him again, which made sense. He could only run for so long. We weren't getting anywhere the way we were going. Elements of surprise is a good way to try as any other, but why tell me keep running? Surely it'd be better for us to take him 2 versus 1. In that case, I should stay back and help, right? But she said keep running. No, I slowed and turned around. A good thing I did, because I was able to get a front row seat for the ensuing fight. Right as Thane began to turn the corner, the redhead shot out a fist, trying to sock him in the side. Sorry, lady, you're dealing with someone who has a cyborg levels of fighting experience. In an instant, he came to a dead stop. He must have seen the attack coming from the corner of his eye. Not only did Thane stop, but even leaned back. Because of that, the first swing sailed right in front of his head, inches from his stupid helmet. It felt like a sign the attack failed, but my partner wasn't so quick to throw in the towel. As if she'd planned for the first punch to miss. I would major she would, because you have to remember it from Thane's point of view as well. He knows that we can't keep either he keeps chasing us and they get tired and he catches them, or they have to stop and fight eventually. And if they have to stop and fight, he has to figure out a way they do that, in which case an ambush is the only logical explanation, because they stand absolutely no chance in a straight-up fist fight. Twisted her body with her right arm, went for an uppercut right at the chest. Attack that would wind anyone if it connected, although again Thane was ready, blocked the brunt with his right arm. She then seamlessly transitioned to another swing the side with the left fist. Once more, Thane caught in his arm. However, both these arm-based attacks were just meant to keep Thane occupied and distracted. While she swung, though, she was also swinging back her right leg. Right as Thane caught her left punch, she released the tension and took a thwack right in Thane's money zone. Looks like third time's the charm, or fourth, depending on your count. Whatever. Point is, Thane was caught right on and began to keel over. An opening. Seriously, I wasn't expecting much. Right now, it looked like my fellow target was about to get the upper hand. Looking to make the most of this, the redhead clasped her fists together and jumped up. She was looking to slam down with a double fist. Ambitious, but wrong choice. She should have followed up with something less wind-up. Against a normal opponent, sure, that might have been the right move, but against Thane, as I feared, right as the one brought down the strike, he swayed right out of the way, dodging last second. Unfortunately, she missed. Thane's opponent was now wide open. Almost casually, his free hand shot out and slammed her face, and it wasn't even a punch either. It was more of a shove, it looked like. And as she shoved, he fell back, toppling the floor and getting up to the edge of another container. Thane, pressing the advantage, calmly took 2 more steps forward and began to raise his gun. A simple shot or two, the splayed opponent would end things. Well, damn. Good thing I'm not one to listen to directions. Oh, isn't this exciting? A nice flashy action scene for you to sit back and passively enjoy. What fun it is to watch people grapple with an intense amount of stress and danger while you do F all. How nice. That's what you're thinking, right? Well, this is just a retelling, so... Nice. I mean, that's what you're thinking, right? Well, not really. Not that right. Good, I don't top... Well, good, yeah. I could kind of get it with those if we were watching a movie or something, but strictly speaking, Ez here is our narrator telling us the story of events. And this is, as interesting as this is, we're obviously, invested in Mercury getting out here alive, since we're basically seeing the story through his shoes, and thus, by definition, we're already invested in seeing him make it out alive. The person in the scene is faced the danger. It's only fair you should be as well. Well, perhaps danger isn't the right word. This won't hurt you, probably, but you should keep your eye on your feet. How? Well, watch this. Punch. Kick. Stab. Whoa, words, awesome. These are the concept flashing through your mind a split second of a moment, each being eliminated in its moment of consideration. Here we go, an idea not considered might be valid. That is to say, do you know which of these words didn't just pop up? Punch, kick. Shoot did not show up. Hooray! You have a memory superior to a goldfish. Very good, gold star. Okay, I get it. That was too simple. Well, what if you, much as you thought that were in the scene yourself, didn't have an infinite amount, as though you were in the scene itself, didn't have an infinite amount of time to answer? What if you only had a limited period of time to say shoot? Do you think that would make it harder? Yes, clearly. The point is, I think you understand the concept. Yeah, I don't think I missed that, yeah, I don't think I missed the little timer bar down there, so... Is this going to be how fight scenes play out? Phrases pop up, remember them, choose the option that was not shown on screen. Boom, minigame explained. Seems as though we only have one more order of business, and that's setting the difficulty. So what do you have, an easy, hard, something in between? Let me be clear, these can really pack a punch, especially hard. Don't choose unless it's being officially comp. I'm here for the VN more than me, so let's keep it simple. Okay, first off, don't do that rhyming shit again, okay? Oh, not cute, just annoying. Oh wow, this is the first time we've seen Ez pissed. Okay then, understandable. Beating one of these minigames will net you 3 chips. That is if you beat it flawlessly. Each time you choose something wrong or take too long, that's 1 chip knocked off. Mess up too much, you get diddly squat. Or if you can't be bothered, at the start of each fight, you can just skip the minigame. Seems like a coward's way out, but hey. Alright, I'm bored of this now, just do the thing. Oh, here's something to keep in mind. If a word pops up, that's your mind considering it or whatever. If it pops up again, that's your reconsidering it, change your mind. In other words, if a word pops up twice, so you never... Alright, so I have to eliminate this... I have noticed that after going through each tutorial, she then immediately adds an additional rule on top. Like with the, hacking minigame, she made sure to include additional ones. Even when I had to redo the earlier parts and I ended up doing, easy mode, for example, she still... Not only did she add the yellow ones later, which have very specific rules, but she also added blue ones, which add an additional layer. I wouldn't mind working on those in my off time, for sure, but since I'm here for the story, and this story is definitely going to be a bit wordy, yeah, I do want to keep things expedient. Like I said when I first started, it's pretty fun, but the fact I'm streaming it is, to an extent, affecting how I play. And that's both a blessing and a curse, because on one hand, it does force me to be decisive. Like, I definitely have mulled over quite a few choices in Elden Ring more if I hadn't been moving on, but by doing so, I was able to make decisive choices and not get stuck with choice paralysis, you know? And there's definitely some value in that, especially since I do get choice paralysis here and there. But it does also mean I might play a bit more risky than I might normally play. Like during Hades, I would often take the more risky rooms since I felt, well, if I'm streaming it, I should probably make it more interesting. Especially since I know that failure can sometimes also be entertaining. Or at least that's my hope. Alright, if word pops up twice. Of course, that means if word pops up a third time, well, you're clever. Skip the action minigame? No, I'll go through it. I'd already begun moving over their fight, but now I was in a full-on sprint. It's possible when Thane looked over at me. Jump kick. Tackle. Jump punch. Throw. Jump kick. Alright, so jump kick is out. He looked just in time to witness me jumping out at him in both legs. That's right, the good old drop kick. Man, this thing was a really decent fighting move, huh? Apparently Thane's weakness was unexpected kicks from a third party when he was already aiming at someone on the ground with a gun because he wasn't remotely prepared for this attack. The drop kick hit him full on and he was sent flying to the ground. He slid back on impact. He let go of his gun, which slid even further. This time was my job to grab my precious savior. felt my mouth open before I knew what to say. Flee, gun, help, kill. Hurry was not one of them. I shouted this to indicate that actually continuing to fight Thane was a mistake. At first, this might seem like an odd choice. Thane was prone without his gun and it was 2-on-1. We should keep fighting him, right? But no. My fighting experience was indicating anything but. Even though the two of us were pressing the advantage, I didn't doubt Thane would be able to end us both. With the surprise ambush should be used for is getting a more significant lead on Thane. Luckily, seeing my fellow target agreed with this assessment. She began to run away, and I made to follow her, but sweep. Grab. Grapple. Grab. Okay, so grabs. Alright, Thane grabbed my foot as I was fleeing. Luckily, I was able to spot this attempt in my corner of the eye and jump just in time. That was close. Immediately, we began flooring it. Where to run? Run straight, sprint, left, flee, right. Sprint straight. Ooh, this one's a bit rough. Also moved react for freezing up. Felt pain back in my head. These usually meant I was making a mistake. It also usually hurt like shit. It would hurt less than the mistake I was about to make. Run straight, sprint left, flee right. Run right, run left, flee straight. Sprint straight, sprint left, sprint right. Seeing a good path forward, immediate left. We followed that shortly with the right turn. I just needed Thane to be far away. As much distance possible. This was full on sprint until finally, ambush, attack, ambush, hide, ambush. Okay, so ambush is back on the table. Stop was not on there. When I could tell, we put enough distance. What we need to do now is catch our breath. So here we were on the completely opposite side. When we were on the completely opposite side of the boat, we began to slow down and catch our breath. Ooh, woo. I listened intently for Thane. No footsteps could be heard. For now, at least I was right. We'd actually lost him. Well, that's nice. Dang, and that was easy. But I will say I do appreciate the dev putting effort into making the minigames feel a bit more impactful. I did complain about it a bit during Zodiac Trial, and I don't think it was a problem. Actually, I should reword that. It did disappoint me a bit with some of the puzzles, but it wasn't a deal breaker or anything, and obviously the fact that I complain about gameplay in a VN shows that I was stretching for something to criticize, since, well, I like to overanalyze things that I enjoy, and that means finding flaws even in things I love, so. Hey, now that we have a moment to yourselves, mind if I got your name here? Moment to ourselves, we're still pretty screwed, dude. It's a big boat. We lost him. I think we've got at least a moment. Why do you want to know my name? So we can, like, talk? I mean, we're seeing as how we're sort of in this shit fest together. I thought it'd be nice. I mean, sheesh, is everything gonna be a thing with you? She eyed me with suspicion for a moment. Fine, I'm Lara. Nice to meet you, Lara. And you? It seems she has some good fighting experience since she's also a high-ranking member of the gang Thane is part of, but that doesn't change that they're part of the same group for the moment. Oh, very odd. If she's in conflict with Thane now, but isn't in the other one, does this story take place before or after our imposter friend arrives? I think that's going to be key to this whole thing. Mercury. Mercury? Wrong with that name? No, just unique. There's a lot of pretty unique names here in Panthea. Fair enough. Mind telling me what you're doing on that ship? Are you gonna tell me why you're here? Now's not the time to talk about that shit. Our lives are in danger. Drop that quickly. Hey, gonna give me shit or try working a plan? Plan sounds good. One problem though, I don't know what we're supposed to do. Piloting this huge ship back to shore will take a bit, and it's a huge risk. No idea if there's somebody at the control right now, but if there is, they're likely armed. And we're in the middle of the ocean, so it's not like we have an easy out. Oh, please. Easy, we just gotta get to the lifeboat. Lifeboat? Yeah, it's on the starboard side. Is that the right term? That side. She pointed where she's indicating. That's how I got here. Smuggled myself on the lifeboat when we went out to sea. Of course, obviously there'd be a lifeboat. Why didn't I check for that the moment I woke up? Ugh. I didn't really have an answer. Well, I mean, while there was no gas specifically occurring, it's clear our protagonist Mercury was drugged in some fashion. And when waking up from something like that, he's groggy and not in his best mindset. So yeah, that's why. I'd imagine he didn't think about it until brought up. Oh, guess I'm dumb. Okay, yeah, lifeboat sounds like the safest play. We're just trying to angle it towards that if we can. Great, let's get going. Immediately, Laura began to move in the direction she'd earlier indicated. Whoa, wait. I gripped old arm. Annoyed, she shook me off. The hell? Sorry, but look, I don't think going down there right away is such a good idea. Didn't you just say the lifeboat was our best bet? It is, which is why we should beware about going that way. I don't follow. Thane's pretty smart. Is that so? Okay, that statement makes me think you believe otherwise, but earlier when I was in the hull, when he lost me, he began to guard the stairs of the deck. I think that's because he knew about the lifeboat and wanted to cut off the only possible escape route for me. Now that we're on the deck, I think Thane's likely to skip the middleman and puppy guard the lifeboat directly. If we go that way haphazardly, we'll likely get sprayed with bullets. Sorry, you're saying we shouldn't take the opposite exit because he'll expect that play? So many words. Ever heard of the hangman's paradox? Enlighten me. Alright, so there's a crazy serial killer and he's scheduled to get hung up sometime this week. On Monday, the warden tells the killer that they're not going to expect it the morning the execution's announced. Messed up prison system, I know, but go with me. Now, do you know what the prisoner figures? They can't be killed on Sunday because if there's only one day left, they'd expect it. Exactly. So then they can't be killed on Saturday because if they got to Friday, they obviously can't on Sunday because obviously they expect it Saturday. Thing with Friday, Thursday. Oh, you sure you never heard of this thing before? Just working through the situation logically. Anyways, the killer goes on to extend that reasoning that throughout the whole week includes it's possible for him to be executed on any possible day. Then on Wednesday, they're executed and they feel like a real idiot. You're the one who reminded me we had a limited time, right? Look, moral of the story is, don't be like the stupid killer. Since the expected choice is so expected, it can sometimes be... So really, there's no choice that can become expected. I feel like she skipped a few steps in there somewhere. However, she does seem confident in this reasoning and began to move again. It is possible, if Thane thinks, oh, there's no way those two would be so dumb as to immediately go to there, they're probably going to try some way to sneak onto it. Then that would work, but the problem is, what if he knows that we know? Okay, wait. Laura paused but didn't turn back around. We can go, but we have to be like super stealthy. Well, obviously. I don't mean regular stealthy. I mean we have to actively check places Thane might be waiting to ambush us before we get in. Okay, I get it. I don't want to get shot either. I'm not saying you do. I'm saying we should be careful. Alright, I'm bored now. Laura resumed her trek to the lifeboat. Annoyed, all I could do was follow her. Slowly, stealthily, we made our way towards the lifeboat. Luckily, Laura seemed to take my advice to heart. She moved with extremely light feet, making sure to check corners and frequent breaks. For my part, I just tried not to make noise, and I listened out. I tried to hear where Thane was. Fortunately, at the rate things were going, I was more likely to hear my own heartbeat than any noise Thane was making. Unlike before, I couldn't place him anywhere. There were two options. Either he was already in one place, stationary, or he was also stalking around silently, looking for us. Were we currently in a deadly game of deadly cat and mouse? Or were we slowly making our way right into an ambush? I couldn't tell. All I could do was keep walking. Step, step, step. The ship wasn't that long, and it felt like it was taking forever just to cross one end to the other. Part of it was the painstakingly slow rate at which we moved. Part of it was also how fast my mind was moving. I always thought I was pretty good at thinking quickly, but time really does move slower when you're in danger. I always heard that cliche, never thought there was any truth to it. Wonder if it's a sort of chemical thing, or... Laura and I were leaning back against the nearest container motionless. We didn't move. We didn't breathe. I felt like choking. Right in front of us, we had gotten a glimpse. He was slowly walking the other direction. I'm pretty sure he didn't see us. He wasn't facing our direction, but still, shit. Damn. My heart dropped the moment I heard a gunshot. I felt like yelping out. Where was it aimed? Had he found us? Wait, I didn't hear an impact. No impact? Two more shots were fired, but this time I got a glimpse of the sky of what was really going on. Those shots were being fired into the sky. Thane was purposely giving away his location. Looks like we were trying his patience. He was fed up with the slow and steady method. To be honest, I think Thane's patience could be broken. As that thought passed my mind, I started his mechanical voice shout out through the silent night. Come on now, Laura. We really don't have to do this. Deal with the trespasser and we can come to an understanding. You don't have to die here, because that's what's going to happen, you know? Die here. We both know you can't take me on. Twice now you've fluked your way out of death, but I'm on guard now. No more little tricks will faze me. I really don't want to kill you. Anxiously, I looked to Laura. Those two clearly knew each other and were in cahoots. Was she thinking about taking this deal? I saw her roll her eyes. Okay, looks like she found this proposition ridiculous. Thank goodness. Good to know I wasn't about to get sold out, but Thane wasn't done. What do you think you're going to accomplish if you escape, huh? Because obviously, that's what you're looking to do. Do you think if you can get back to Safeland, you'd have won something? Go and report this to Marduk. Suddenly you've won. What makes you so sure he doesn't know about this? Just saying out loud, you... Up. It's right there, Laura. Do you want to be shot? Okay, here's a better question. Do you think he'll particularly care? Do you think that will be the least of your concerns when he learns your dirty little secret to Miss Naomi? I saw Laura visibly freeze up at that. I had no context for what he was saying, however I could guess it wasn't good. Yeah, that's right, I know. The Manjet did its job. Cheeky little bitch, aren't you? Think you could get away with this? Think that someone like you could lead the Duats? Ha! As if. I'm sorry, but your gal pal down the hole didn't have tight lips as you must have thought when you confided in her. It really didn't take long for her to cough that up. Just 2 fingers. I could see Laura visibly shaking. With rage or fear, I wasn't sure. I tried lightly putting a hand on her shoulder just to ground her. However, the instant look of fear I got signaled maybe that wasn't right. Face it, you will never be more than what you are. Frankly, you are already above your station. I know you can hear me. I'm out already. To illustrate the point, he fires more shots in the air, as though he was in a completely different mode. He was acting like this when I caught him torturing that old man. Aside for talking shit and aside for murder, is it? Honestly, I don't give a shit if you get away. Like I said, you can't touch me. It's really just the mystery passenger I want dead. You got one chance. Kill me now, and if not, I'm bringing this ship back to shore. Talking to Marduk. When he learns the truth, you're sure as shit not going to get the headship of Duats. There's no way he's giving it to Yi. It's going to fall to me. Alright, I'm still not sure if this takes before or after, but there was something that happened. Thane was apparently going to become leader of Duats, but then something happened, and Murdoch got so pissed he put the guy on his permanent shit list. And that basically dropped him from the rankings. That's why Yi and Lara in the other story were so confident. But this could easily take place after that, after he's earned everyone else's confidence back, because he already said some stuff that Marduk found particularly good, I guess, is the best way to put it. I'll get what should have been rightfully mine, and had that old bastard not thrown a fit the moment I tried putting one of his lectures into action. That is, unless you come out right now. Lara's hands balled into fists. Oh no, she began to move forwards. Once again, I grabbed her arm. Again, she pushed off and began to open her mouth and rebuke me. Panicking, I covered her with my other hand. If she was before, she's not furious, but I put a finger in my mouth, signaling we need to stay mindful of. Still, she pushed away. Before she spoke, however, I started quietly. For a second, why would he shout all this if it was true? He's provoking you. He knows if it gets you angry enough, you'll try and take him out, and he knows he can if you fall for it. We've got a perfectly fine plan with the lifeboat. We know he's not a puppy guarding it now. Let's take advantage. Wordlessly, Lara began moving towards, hands still clenched. She was no longer moving slow and steady. Well, hopefully Thane was too busy monologuing to notice. At the very least, I'd successfully avoided the worst-case scenario. At this point, we were pretty close to the lifeboat. Just a bit closer. A few more steps. There. I saw it over the edge of the lifeboat. It was raised to be right under the edge of the ship. At this point, time subtly was over. Lara and I pretty much just ran straight over the lifeboat. With reckless abandon, jumped over the railing and landed in it. Lara got in with a bit more tact, began messing with the lifeboat winch controls. However, at this point, our noise attracted the attention of our very own mass murderer. Thane popped out from behind a container. Well, shit, I suddenly fell flat, lying in the boat, hoping to avoid gunshots. Lara, on the other hand, frantically began messing with the controls faster. She hit a button, nervously ducked, hands over edge of the whole lifeboat, and suddenly dropped. Blam. Great timing, too, because Thane had just allowed another shot where Lara had just been moments ago. Thane was always a second late with a shot, eh? Was he just a bad shot? I mean, it's starting to feel like that, to be honest. Or maybe I was just particularly lucky. Anyway, not remotely the time to start questioning the abilities of the person currently trying to kill me. We may technically be on the ocean, but we're still shackled to the manjet. Get the boat started! Lara had to shout over the crushing water, which is now quite loud, being this close to waves. I'm on it. I began to rush to the back of the boat and rev up the motor. I never really operated a motorboat, but boy, if there was ever time to start. The best I could tell, I had gotten it started. Lara also just managed to pull off her duty, properly getting the lifeboat free. As soon as he finished, I was suddenly pushed back. I had to grab on and myself falling out. Apparently, I had put the thing at max speed. Whoa, the speed it felt. Get down! Lara shouted at me. Before I could comprehend, she grabbed my shoulders and forced me down. Blam, blam. Again, dollar short and day late, Thane. Didn't take a genius to imagine what happened. Once we dropped down, Thane began running over the side of the ship. Blam, blam. We got into a position he could lean over the rail and continue firing. Unfortunately for him, hitting a rapidly moving lifeboat was a tricky prospect. Still, you couldn't say he wasn't determined. How much ammo does he have? Shot after shot, he fired into the ocean, vaguely in our direction. After every missed bullet, his odds for success with the next decreased. Lara and I just huddled in the back, crouching down, gritting our teeth as the cold water and wind splashed on our faces. Full knowledge at any moment Thane might roll well, get lucky, and send a piece of metal right through the back of our throats, but eventually, after far too long, I no longer heard the sound of bullets. Hesitantly, I started to get up. I turned around. Yeah, at this point, we had well and truly put some distance between the manjet. You needed a sniper rifle to hit a reliably fast-moving target at this rate. So were we free? Scooch over. Lara began to get up, and now that we weren't in immediate danger, this huddling no longer felt comfortable. I moved to one side of the lifeboat and Lara the other. The wind was really rough. Well, that made sense when we were moving this fast. I looked forwards. We still had a way to go until shore. However, I looked back. We put distance on the manjet, and then, was I free? Had I escaped the ghost ship alive? With this night of torment over? I could almost cry. It was unreal. Put my face in my hands. I was really gonna live, wasn't I? I've been holding back how crazy this night had been till now, but knowing that I could actually get out alive, finished my mission truly Where was that bright light coming from? I took my head out of my hands and put my hands up, shielding myself from the light. Moments later, we were out of the direct gaze. However, a couple seconds later, the light caught up to us. The squinty eye, as I looked out and trying to get a better look, then I saw it, a bright light atop the Manjet directed towards us. And if that wasn't the only thing coming this direction, it's hard to tell from perspective, but no, the Manjet was moving, turning and moving in our direction. Something that big shouldn't be able to move that fast, and yet it was. It was a nightmarish titan of a vessel, and yet it moved with a surprising amount of force. It was practically keeping up with us. In fact, it was even faster. Couldn't tell, but it seemed plausible. If you had any naive ideas about us being out of the woods, think again. They don't call Thane the Shadow of Panthea for nothing. His job is to kill people, and he's damn good at his job. He's not going to stop tracking us down till either we completely shake him off, he's dead, or we are. Sorry, bud, but this night's far from over. Ah, classic. Everybody loves that we're saved. Oh, wait, no, we're not, bit. Or at least I do. Guess I can't say if everyone does, but I mean, I didn't mean the saying literally. No one does. There's no way to know if everybody thinks something. It's a complete devil's proof. 100% of the time, that saying is not said literally. But I guess that's true for most sayings, isn't it? That's why they're sayings, right? I digress. In regards to the scene, is it just me, or did this one feel a little short? Just me? Like, not criminal short. I don't know, this was clean to the point, which I think is more important than consistent scene length, maybe. Yeah, this one was just supposed to be the chapter where they finally get off the boat. Not where they escape, just where they escape the main boat and move on to something else. Look, more work goes into creating these cards than just, creation. Which, yes, in of itself is an impressive feat that makes me feel like a god. There's also a creative direction to it. I mean, okay, not tons of it. It's just mostly a reproduction of what happened. Still, there are details I have to think of, like how to separate the cards, that matters. Well, we've gone wildly off track. Wasn't there a bet we have to check on? Right, the one where Mercury would end up after 2 scenes. Well, it's been 2 scenes. No, it's not the same boat. He's indeed on a boat. Still on a boat. So I guess you win. Good for you, I guess. Really made a keen judgment or something like that. Okay, I'll be real. I feel like our conversation this time was a little all over the place. Perhaps I'm not doing the best job right now as a storyteller. Just being a little distracted. There's stuff going outside. You know what? Forget it. Let's move on. An interesting thing to note, I have not lost any bets so far, which is why I'm starting to speculate that whatever I bet on influences the outcome of the story. Which is a bit depressing, since that implies I may have accidentally put myself on way to the bad ending from the start. I suppose it's not too hard to redo things if I did end up doing that, but when I had to redo it in the last stream, I went with the same decision, largely because I felt I should stay true to what I was doing before, even if I didn't necessarily want to go that way. Interesting, no locks. Single weight. The waves were choppy, the night was dark, our boat was rocketing forwards at such extreme speeds I had to hold on to prevent it from falling off. A massive freighter ship was gliding through the water, aimed right at us. A masked assassin was trying to kill us. Both me and Lara's lives were in grave danger. So then, getting bored seemed somewhat unreasonable, yeah? I mean, definitely being bored with the situation is ludicrous, but the boat trip was taking longer than expected. It didn't look that far to shore, but I guess I was just horribly bad at gauging distances. Maybe it's just hard to gauge boat distances in general. Well, whatever the case was, I was getting antsy just sitting here. No, I wasn't antsy for no reason. If I was by myself, I'd probably be overthinking every move of my own. What's throwing me off my game was the woman sitting right across from me. The awkward silence that lingered between us was, well, awkward. I didn't like it. We had time to kill. I should try and get a conversation going. That's so nice weather we're having, right? If it looks good, kill. Sheesh. Alright, bad start. I can admit that. I'm just trying to get some conversation going. Hi. Got nothing better to do. Plain talking with you would be better than silence. Respectfully, I disagree. Not remotely in the mood for the shit. That is, fair. Still, since we're in this together, shouldn't we... Oh, yikes. I mean, I get being a little guarded, but what's with the open hostility? Part of me wanted to take her advice. Just shut up until we get to shore. But when I defaulted just wanting to survive, had I completely forgotten about my mission. It wasn't enough to just get out alive. I needed to collect all the information I could. Thane clearly knew the most about the Manjet, but getting information out of him was obviously dead end. But Lara here, she clearly knew more about the Manjet as well. If I can get that out of her, I need to start with a rapport. Waiter. Here. You asked earlier what I did? I am a waiter. At Casone's, actually. Nice little place up on the north side of Panthea. I know it. Nice place, I've been there a few times. Right. Funny, I can't say I recognize you. Likewise, but that place has a lot of waiters. No surprise we haven't met before now. But yeah, my name's Mercury, and I'm a waiter at Casone's. Not a glamorous living, but getting a job in this economy, pretty rough, especially without prior experience. Ideally, waiter's not my end-all, be-all job. And most people think that. Yeah, that's true enough. But maybe like to, I don't know, be a reporter or something. That right. Although, if cases were like this, I might need to rethink things. You also asked what I was doing here specifically, right? Well, I was investigating the Manjet. You see, I had this friend when I was younger, JC Nausea. For the record, JC Nausea is likely going to be a recurring character. She's already been a bit of one for a few stories, but after we saw her picture, I realized, oh, she's the one on the Steam page preview. So she's definitely important here. Worked for the Oracle. You know her? Sorry, no, can't say I do. Oh well. It's not a huge surprise. She was never a huge deal, and of course she went missing that long ago. Yeah, sorry, a bit of a mood kill, huh? But it's true, it's why I was on the Manjet. JC and I might have drifted apart, but when I heard about her disappearance, I couldn't let that go. Got a tip from this person online who seemed to know a lot about the underground workings in Panthea. Said they actually learned something interesting about JC Nausea from one of their contacts. Their disappearance might be related to the Manjet. When I heard that, I decided to check up this place myself. Earlier today, I was looking around it, and then for no discernible reason, I passed out. What? I really don't know what happened. My only guess is I was attacked by some sort of sporific. I didn't see where it came from, but that's my only guess. When I woke up, the ship was already out to sea. I poked around and found Thane killing people. He found me, and you can guess the rest. Although apparently, Thane doesn't know why I end up on that ship either. So, you know, I'm absolutely clueless as to what's happening. But you want to explain my presence, that's it. I wanted to know more about the Manjet. I ended up far more familiar with it than I expected, although only in terms of the interior. Still completely clueless about the history or whatever happening on it now. You want to know about the Manjet? If you wouldn't mind, yes. Yes, I got her talking. I don't know how much you don't already know. Are you aware the Manjet's been owned by the Duats for decades? I've heard rumors of that effect, yes. Nothing definitive, though. Well, I'm telling you definitively. Manjet is Duat property. Always has been. Throughout the years, it has been had a number of different purposes. Originally, it was used to help smuggle illegal immigrants into the country. Obviously, there was some front, but in reality, it was just a one-way trip to Panthea. Anyone could come in. For a pretty penny, that is. Now, that was the sort of racket the Duats were built for. Profitable, easy, and harmless. Hell, helpful even. Of course, there was another big reason the higher-ups at the time liked it. Illegal immigrants have quite a bit of trouble getting legal jobs around these parts. Back in the day, the then governor of Panthea, Zahak, had some really arcane laws that made it near impossible to get employment as an illegal immigrant, or anyone without any identifying documents. Without many of those other options, a lot of immigrants turned to the one place always looking to hire new recruits, the Duats. Right. Not pretty smart. Well, this is one of the reasons the Duats rose to power way back when. But sometime when national laws got more strict on the immigration front, Marduk must have decided the risk was too high. Instead, the Manjet took new life. It became a smuggler's paradise for all kinds of contraband. Turns out smuggling things is a lot easier than smuggling people. It gave the Duats a nice revenue stream. But again, eventually it was too high-risk an operation, so the Manjet was retired. More recent times, it's basically a murder vessel. When people need to disappear, it's common practice to trap them in one of the storage containers, wait till night, then sail out to the middle of the ocean, make them sleep with the fishes, if you catch my drift. Not exactly a subtle drift. I'm sorry. But if her friend ended on that boat, I have to assume she didn't make it off. I felt something catch up in my throat. I mean, well, damn, I knew it was most likely that JC was dead, like 99% probable, but still her body was never found. I guess some small part of me always hoped that somehow, someway she wasn't actually. You're a higher-up officer on the Duat totem pole, right? Don't deny it. On the ship, Thane pretty much said as much. I'm not denying it. Did you ever hear anything about JC Nausea? I mean, I have to imagine giving the order to erase someone has to go through some people, right? I don't know what to say. I only raised this level of senior officer relatively recently. The name sounds vaguely familiar, but honestly speaking, I don't remember hearing anything definitive about her. I am sorry. So what was that I just walked in on? The Duats eliminating enemies? No, it wasn't. The Manjet shouldn't have been in use anytime recently, and yet my information suggestions been going out to sea every now and then as of late. Which is connected to another serious piece of information I know. Certain Duat members are going missing. That alone... Oh, well that alone doesn't mean anything. To be honest, that's actually pretty commonplace. The Duat lifestyle isn't exactly healthy. I did compare it to the Sith, the Master and Apprentice relationship before, so... Yeah, I imagine members making each other disappear to make themselves look better is pretty common. Or other... Yeah, you got tons of deserters, as well as a number of idiots who get themselves killed in some dumb way. That's the exact people going missing concerns me. See, the Duats are in kind of a cold war as of late. There are different factions within the organization. I'm helming one of them. And to put it lightly, I've been making more active moves for the inevitable upcoming conflict. I've been getting people on side. And yet the people I've been colluding with, preparing with, they're the ones going missing. I didn't think it was a coincidence. I suspected this was a conceited effort by Yi, Thane, or the two combined to undermine me. That a Duat senior officer was kidnapping Duat members and disappearing them to keep me in check. I thought it was connected to the reports of the Manjet going out to sea. Earlier today, Thane suspiciously left early. I followed in the Manjet, stowed away on a lifeboat, and well, I guess my theory is more or less confirmed. Damn. I was pretty in the dark about all this, but it seemed like things were pretty messed up at Duat HQ, and I'd almost gotten caught in the crossfire. I wouldn't have just called it murder, though. From what I saw in there, it was more extreme than that. I'm gonna be sick just thinking about it again. It was full-on torture. They did that girl in denim. It was at that point I realized Laura had resumed giving me a death glare, and then it dawned on me she was probably reasonably close to people disappearing. Just talking about the graphic death wasn't the coolest idea. Sorry. Just drop it. But from the sounds of it, the torture wasn't pointless. The glare. I mean, the sense that Thane learned something about you. Probably learned a lot about you. Laura was trying to dismiss the topic, but I wasn't willing to drop things so easily. The more information I could get, the better. He called you Miss Naomi. He stressed that last name. Is that supposed to mean something? I didn't need to hear an answer. Laura's expression told me I was striking a nerve. What's that about, exactly? It doesn't matter. It really matters to Thane. Drop it, dipshit. Ooh, this was not great. Despite being ostensibly allies, Laura here was higher up in the Duats, which means she was probably dangerous. If I continued to tick her off, there's no telling what it might manifest as. If I was smart, I was drop it. Look, I'm not going to tell anyone else. There goes that idea. Why does it matter to you? It matters to me because it matters to you. Look, like it or not, we're kind of in the middle of something. We're in it together, and clearly it's something motivated by Duat politics. If I have a better understanding of what's going on, I might be able to help out some way along the road. If it's really too personal, too scandalous, or whatever, fine. Keep it to yourself. But if you do tell me, doesn't matter, I won't tell another soul. If I'm really an honest person too, you can trust me. The only use I'd make of that information is trying to help us. At the very least, Laura was mulling over the proposal, and then she spoke up. Where are you from? Excuse me? Where are you from? Because you're sure as shit not from Panthea. If you were, you would have recognized the last name of Naomi. Why is that? Because the last name of the previous head is Shikome's. Oh, their main rival. Yep. Well, how is... Long story. Not particularly interesting one either. To put it briefly, my mother was the leader of the Shikome. She wasn't that when she had me, of course, though she was involved with criminal affairs. That's why she left me up for adoption. But even while I grew up with my adopted family, she actually stayed in touch with me. Met with me frequently, tried to connect with me, I guess. Eventually, she led the Shikome. They got in their stupid-ass gang war, and eventually the Shikome lost. A bunch of their members were busted by the police, my mom included. Because she was too chicken shit to face the music, she hung herself. Oh my. That's awful. I'm sorry. I ask for your sympathy. Sorry, but wait. If the Duats are responsible for your mother's death, then that means you joined the Duats to attempt the gang war. And setting up this gang war. Forget it. Huh? I know what you're thinking. It's stupid. I was never that close to my mother. Resented her more than anything. It's her own damn fault for getting the damn war in the first place and for utterly flubbing it. The reason I joined the Duats is because they were the only gang worth a shit still standing. I have no spite towards Marduk. I wasn't sure how convinced I was at the last point. Close enough, if your mother's practically killed by a gang boss, would you really be that willing to work under him without hesitation? Then again, there wasn't any real need for Laura to tell me any of this stuff. Why lie about that detail? Hell, given my background, she'd probably suspect I loathe the Duats. I'd probably be more inclined to help her if I thought this was an elaborate revenge scheme. That said, I'm not sure everyone will see that way, hence why I'm not exactly advertising my parentage. Probably for the best, yeah. So if Thane tells us Marduk, who's to say how he'll take any of this? Thane and I, we're both standing on the edge of the unknown. On one hand, look at my situation. Maybe Marduk would be understanding. From my conversations, he seems to begrudging respect for the Shikome, and understanding it was all business. He publicly said to end the feud and not to harass any previous members. A few Shikome grunts even transferred to being Duat grunts, with admittedly a bit of pushback. There's a reasonable chance that when Marduk learns the truth about me, he'll shrug and move along. That where I came from shouldn't matter to determine how worthy. Alternatively, he could be irate beyond belief. That behind that calm exterior, he has a burning resentment for how much the Shikome gave him trouble. That he'd never in a million years let the Duat fall into the hands of a descendant of the Shikome for some honor shit. He might even want to get revenge on me or some shit. Maybe even my Shikome blood doesn't even matter in and of itself, but simply the fact I hid it from him is unforgivable. It'd break really bad. The exact same thing is true with Thane's situation, however. If I got the information that Thane was out killing Duat members, Marduk might treat the situation as ultimate betrayal, an utterly unforgivable act worthy of execution. The idea has to be plaguing Thane, which is why he's so eager to silence me right now. Then again, maybe that's too hopeful of an outcome. Thinking back, it's bullshit. The idea Marduk knows about what's happening. There's no chance doesn't know about what's happening, but if Thane was right, and I don't. Thinking back, it's bullshit. The idea that Marduk knows about what's happening. Okay, yeah, because Thane claimed that Marduk already knew, but she knows there's no chance of that. He's got a weird, messed up value system for taking power for yourself. Considering that Thane's likely doing this to try and inherit the Duat himself, Marduk might admire that sort of ambition. He could be impressed that Thane is taking matters in his own hands. Impressed that Thane is killing Duat's own members? How does that make sense? It doesn't, but I can't rule it out, knowing Marduk. But think about this, what proof do I have that any of this happened? Thane could well just deny any involvement, even when I lay it all out. You could say I was making it all up to sabotage him, especially if he blabs about my Shikome origins first, and that'll really hurt my credibility. Maybe he spins as preventing a revolt. Maybe Soul will paint my actions trying to lead a revival of Shikome. Silent as he is, Thane's really sneaky. He has a lot of options for how he could play this card. Yeah, neither of you can really be sure how things are going to play out. Maybe I'd be the traitor, Thane would be ambitious. Maybe Thane would be the monster, and I'd be rewarded for exposing the depravity of one of Marduk's senior officers. It's possible that even if we revealed each other's secrets, Marduk wouldn't give a shit at all. He'd dismiss the whole thing as petty squabbling, or but he cares more about results for the Dwats than anything else. Or maybe the most likely possibility, we blow each other up and Marduk cuts both of us off. Neither of us are senior officers, and the head Duat falls to Yi, or someone else, or even nobody. It could devolve into complete anarchy. It all depends on Marduk's whims. Damn, that's tricky. You're telling me. You know, in some ways, aren't the two of you in a stalemate? Like, if both of you are something on the other, aren't you kind of locked neutral state? That's only if Thane doesn't manage to off me here and now. Yeah, that'd be one way to break it, I guess. Why are you even in the Duats anyway? I mean, you said it's not for revenge. Sure, I'm willing to believe that, but why join them at all? I mean, you're not trying to be confrontational, it's just... I'm smarter than that. I mean, it's just, you know, they are a gang, after all. I was wondering how you got caught up with them. Why am I with the Duats? Why does anyone do crime? For the money, dumbass. But couldn't you get, like, a job? I don't see why that would be a problem for you. I get more money faster this way. Just that, huh? Look, the Duats aren't as bad as you're making them out to be. From your description, it sounds like they killed my friend. Can't say exactly I'm exactly a fan. Laura didn't have a good response to that. Well, they don't have to be, huh? I remember talking with my mom long ago about what the Shikome really were. She had these lofty ideals about them being defenders of the people. They could keep other criminals in line, be it with violent or white-collar crime. The world's a shitty place that picks on the weak. But a group like the Shikome, a group like the Duats, should be a place where the underdogs can band together. Many gangs have been founded on such a noble premise, but whether or not they actually do is, should give power to the people. We should be waging war against Olimpo, not cozying up to them. We should be protecting local shops, not bringing them to their knees. We should be taking in people with nowhere to go, not actively dragging civilians to our level. We shouldn't need to solve problems by taking them on a boat and shooting them in the back of the head. Some problems maybe, but in rare cases. I'm not saying the gang can exactly be a beacon of morality, but it doesn't have to be evil or anything either. I never really thought about it that way. Yeah, well, my mom never really lived up to those promises with the Shikome, and the Duats sure as shit haven't resembled anything like what I just described for a long-ass time. If I get the headship, that'll sure change. That was a much more idealistically driven response than I was expecting from Laura. Then, should I take her joining the Duats as an active effort to try and reform it from the inside? Following in her mother's footsteps not by trying to get revenge, by living up to her ideals. It was a nice thought, sort of a fun spin on things, but I couldn't help but be suspicious about the pitch as to why this person, inheriting a monstrous organization, would actually be for the best. This was a biased pitch aimed directly at me. All I knew for sure was that Laura's mother used to lead the Shikome, and now she desperately wanted to lead the Duats herself. Everything beyond that I had to take with a grain of salt. Yeah. While we do have the other story that shows that Laura does genuinely want the people on the Duats' side as her noble ambition, Marduk seems to disagree to some level. Still, it's best to play nice. That does sound nice. I think I'd like that. Yeah, well, you got everything you wanted to know? Pretty much, yeah. Good. In case you forgot, we're on the run right now, and our little respite's gonna come to an end any second now. We looked forward and saw she was totally right. The shore actually was quite close now. We'd hit it any second. Which you'd think would be a good thing. Unfortunately, I wasn't sure what the step after that would be. Scanning the shoreline, there wasn't any obvious off-ramp. I could just see Pentheus Forest over a little incline. Just reading my mind, Laura spoke up. Don't worry, I have a plan. You do? I think I generally know where we are, and I know a place we can hide out. Yeah, hide out? Yeah, it's either that or trying to outrace Thane through the forest back to the central area of Panthea. We have a solid lead, but I'm not sure that's a bet I want to take. Yeah, okay, let's go with your idea then. As we barreled right at the store, I realized something crashing into it at high speeds might be a very bad idea. Carefully, I made my way up to the front of the boat and slowed it down as slow as it could go. Took a couple of seconds to slow down the appropriate speed. In a few seconds, we were right by the shore. Laura stood up after giving a run of start. She jumped on the rocky shore. That was fast, huh? Well, no time to waste. I followed in her steps, jumping to solid ground. Phew. Took a couple deep breaths, clutching my legs. My head was lowered, somewhat spinning. All at once, sudden sickness came over me. Just actually being on the actual earth right now, after everything, was somewhat comforting and somewhat disorienting. Those weren't two emotions I knew could coexist. Hey, if you're gonna puke, puke. We don't have time to waste. Laura snapped back to reality. I could rest later. I looked back and saw the Manjet was also extremely close to shore. We had maybe a minute of a head start at best. Alright, let's get going. Without much difficulty, we climbed up the outlook and into the forest. We took a few steps forwards. So what's the plan? What's our speed? Should we speed through, go slower to hide our trail? We should book it. Thane's a great tracker. Wait, if he's a good tracker, shouldn't we go slower? If we run, he's definitely going to follow us. No, you don't understand. Thane is a great tracker. Even if we went slowly, it'd be possible for him to follow us. In that case, trying to lose him is pointless. We should just try and put as much distance as we can. A master tracker as well. What skill set does Thane have? Your guess is as good as mine. Well, I wasn't going to argue with Laura. Two of us began to sprint through the woods. It was a really surreal experience. I mean, all this has been surreal, but it was just catching up to me. The trees were starting to block out the moonlight, which had lit up our journey for this point. It was dark, crowded, hard to see. We just kept running, running into the forest of identical-looking trees. I always thought I was a pretty fast runner, but Laura kept up with me pretty easily. Even though we were running pretty intensely, I felt the need to ask her a question. Hope you know where we're going. Oh, trust me, this is the direction we want to go. Probably. Probably. I'm, like, reasonably sure. I don't know how you can be when it's dark and identical, but alright. Two of us continued to run for a bit longer, then my curiosity took over. Where exactly are we going? We're heading to Odin Daisma's mansion. I almost stopped in my tracks. What? You heard me. It's around here somewhere. It's a good place to hide out. As good as we can hope for. Okay, but how do you know about it? When I was a bit younger, I stayed with Odin briefly. What? There's a damn story behind that. Not really. I mean, sort of. I just got into a big fight with my foster parents. I was already about to move out, but that sped up the timeline before I was ready. I didn't have a lot of options. For whatever reason, I thought a good idea would be break into some building in the forest and live there a bit while I got my feet on the ground. I mean, a lot of these mansions are unoccupied a good amount of the year. I thought I had decent odds. Bad plan, apparently. Yeah, I know that now. Look, I wasn't thinking clearly back then. Stuff was happening. I was young and dumb. Anyways, I eventually found and broke into Odin Daisma's mansion. Surprise, surprise, it wasn't actually unoccupied. When he found me, I thought I was super screwed. But the old dude was weird. He gave me a chance to prove my worth. He made me play the stupid game, involved stars or something, and you won. Where the hell did you get off? It's not a surprise at that. No, as a matter of fact, I didn't win. But apparently I did well enough I earned my keep. Let me stay there for a bit. Next, he made me play again, and again after that. As I stay in the mansion, I have to play stupid games, usually the star game, but he threw in a few others for spice. Weird, but if that was the rent, I'd take it. Yeah, weird's definitely the word for it. Actually, that's underselling it. You want my theory? All of his sons at this point had moved out. The guy would never admit it, but I suspect deep down he was getting lonely. He'd like the company I post. Empty nest syndrome that some parents get after the kids move out. Anyways, I only stayed for as long as I needed to get back on my feet. Once I'd properly joined the Duats, we parted ways, but I still remember the mansion quite well, and if I do remember it right, trees began to clear up, and all of a sudden we were in a clearing. The mansion should be roughly around here. Whoa. Okay, I'll be honest, I didn't think I'd be that dead on. Like, even I'm impressed, I'll say. Honestly, considering it was Odin Daisma we were talking about, the mansion wasn't even all that extravagant. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was absolutely effing huge, properly fancy, nice looking bit of property, but I mean, I could see the whole thing from one perspective. Knowing Odin, I wouldn't have been surprised if I was faced with a castle or something. Damn, well, you sure came through. Question is, how do we get in? Isn't it obvious? We just gotta knock on the front door. You're gonna ask him directly to shelter us? Of course. Why wouldn't he? Laura began to move forwards, but I stayed still deep in thought. After a few steps, Laura turned back at me annoyed. You coming? Wait. Huh? I don't think we should just ask Odin for help. What? Why? I don't know if he'd actually help us. Well, why wouldn't he? Well, there's a chance he's somehow involved. I mean, he's the resident king of Panthea, right? It wouldn't be out of character to have some connection with something like the Manjet, wouldn't he? Really? You're barking up the wrong tree there. I'm pretty sure Odin doesn't have anything to do with that. Trust me, I'm a Duat senior officer. True, but you also didn't know about the Manjet before now, so you don't know everything. Sure, but I just feel uncomfortable putting our lives in his hands in any capacity. Like, here's another possibility. What if he hears the story and says, very well, then he's trying to fend for himself if he's truly shutting us out? I mean, you can't say he wouldn't do something like that. I guess, yeah. Alright, so what's your plan? My plan, we break in and hide, right? Sure, actually, here's a question. Is Odin even here? Look around before spotting something. Well, his car's here, so probably. Right. But this time of night, he's probably asleep. Maybe we can't count on that, so how do we get in? Stayed here, wouldn't you have a better idea? Oh, right, right. Our best chance is probably this way, then. She began to walk around the mansion. I followed her. Out back, there was a rather large garden, carefully managed. Probably looked beautiful under the better circumstances. I couldn't really appreciate it right now, though. Instead, my focus was on the back deck with the large windowed double doors. It's probably the entrance Laura planned on going through. Alright, cool. Let me guess. It's locked. Yeah. Well, damn. Luckily, there's a lock right here. You know how to get through this? Damn right I do. Laura moved up the door. Then with a small rock she must have grabbed, she smashed through it. She began to reach through with one of her hands. That wasn't exactly what I had in mind. It worked. That it did, I guess. Alright, unlock now. Laura grabbed the door handle and began to open it. Oh, wait. Froze up at the last second. What? That. I pointed the opposite side of the door Laura was opening. There's a little metal box. I recognize it well enough. That's a sensor. I bet there's one on the other door as well. If two separate far enough, it'll set off an alarm. Oh shit, you're right. Good catch. What do we do now? I spent a second thinking about it. Alright, keep the door right there. Move towards it, got on my tiptoes, grabbed the sensor. Pulled with some force, with a bit of resistance, managed to wrench the sensor from the door. Then I held it high in place. Laura opened the door fully, walked inside. I also moved through, all while holding the sensor as close to its original position as possible. Nice. Yeah, a little problem here. I don't think I can just put this thing back on the door. I guess. On the inside of the mansion, now I can see the other box sensor on the other door. I reached over that and very carefully pulled that loose too. Finally, I gently placed them on the floor next to each other. You. Okay. We're good now. Awesome. Finally, I could take a moment to really look around this place. Yep, this was Odin Deisma's mansion, alright. Pristine, clean, filled with strange artifacts everywhere you look. Frankly, it was a cliche. I was kind of hoping for something a bit more bizarre than this. Still, you couldn't doubt its beauty. Just looking around the place wasn't going to solve shit. We're still in the thick of things. We need actual solutions, and fast. As much as I'd love to go for a little house tour, I don't think that just standing around the living room is like this is going to be great. Yeah, not exactly a solution, is it? Thane's tracking us. He'll get here soon enough. He might already be outside. He's likely to break in the same way, too. I was more concerned about Odin. He might have heard us sneak in. It's dead at night. Think that'll stop him? Fair point. If he did hear us, he's going to be looking around. If he finds us, he might be as much a danger as Thane. Yeah, he did something like the type to invoke invoke castle doctrine, huh? Well, damn. We could try stealing his car. The car in front, we could steal and drive back the middle. We could be safe there. Damn it, why didn't you just bring that up before now? I didn't think of it. I'd have wasted my time. My fault for assuming you knew how to hotwire a car. I don't know how to hotwire a car. You don't? No. For not assuming you knew how to hotwire. No. Then how are you gonna suggest we steal it? I thought you knew how to hotwire it. Oh wow, really? Ain't that presumptuous? Hey, you're a criminal. Oh, so all criminals know all criminal skills. Real mature, Mercury. Real mature. Okay, forget it. If getting away is out, we'll have to hide somewhere in the house. If we woke Odin, he'll look around, not find anyone, and go back to sleep. Then when Thane catches up, if he catches up, he'll either sneak in here silently, look around, fail to find us, and leave, or he'll come in guns blazing, get in a big spat with Odin, the two will fight. Cops will be called, and there'll be a lot of chaos one way or the other. Or if we're just hiding, we'll be safe, no one to get out of town. That makes sense. Question is, where do we hide? You know this place apparently. Do you have any bright ideas? Laura looked like she was getting deep in thought. Then she spoke up. I think I have an idea. Just an idea, and it might be a bit overkill. Maybe we could just hide in a closet? Now that she said you had an idea, I couldn't not inquire further. What's the idea? Alright, while staying here, I remember one night seeing something weird. Actually, you know what? It'll be quicker just to show you. By all means, lead the way. Then Laura took the initiative, leading me out one door and through the building's halls. This place was really a mansion, huh? Nobody needed this much living space. Before long, Laura brought me around to a particularly conspicuous black doorway. Standing outside of it, she hesitated momentarily. Okay, so, like I said, late at night, I was a little groggy, but I swore I saw Odin in that corner, made my way to this door, thinking he must have come this way, but when I entered, he was nowhere to be seen. Let me guess, there aren't any other exits? Uh-huh. So I think there's like a secret passage? Look, you can be the judge of that. This room's weird, but for there actually be anything hidden in it, well, let's just enter and you'll see for yourself. Then she opened the door and walked in. I followed her. Stepping inside, the immediate purpose of this room was somewhat lost on me. It's a small circular room, mostly white, with a grand architecture accenting everything. Around the room, on pedestals, were 3 mannequins decked out in armor and weaponry. 2 to my left wore leather robes, one held a bow staff out with both arms. Pedestal below it, Zindi was written on it. The mannequin in front of me wore an outfit with a lot of elaborate furs. Both arms were clasped at the top of a base of a long hammer that reached the pedestal. On this pedestal, Ptah was written. Finally, on the right, a warrior stood clad in metal armor, shield out in one hand, spear in the other, reaching down the pedestal. This was named Nemesis. Above the mannequins, an identical clock was hung to the wall. Funny enough, none of the clocks seemed to be functioning. Above Zindi, it was noon. Above Ptah, it was 6:30, and above Nemesis, the clock was 8. Finally, in the center of a room by our feet, there was a black metal plaque right on the ground with a quote engraved in gold. To find the answer, you must first know who is asking the question. The beginning of end of all things appear chaotic and entangled, but for those destined to rule, the truth is easily grasped. Odin Deisma. Wow, engraving your own quote in gold. That doesn't say something about your ego, I don't know what it is. As you can see, this is why I was skeptical of my own recollection. I mean, it doesn't look like there's any secret passage or whatever. Hide, it's probably dead end. Kidding me, this place has a top secret crazy person written all over it. Probably some hidden mechanism in this room. Isn't that just like a thing of books or whatever? Odin Deisma is literally the exact person who would commission something like that in his mansion. Once again, I can't argue with you there. Your memory was totally right. There's something about this room, and there's something just waiting for us to figure out. Okay, but like I said, we'll have to figure it out. In case you forgot, we're on something of a time crunch. We're looking for hiding spots. There's no particularly lofty beds we could hide under. No, we're figuring this out. I want to get to the bottom of this. Was this tactically speaking an optimal course of action? I suspected not, but even still, I mean, come on, who could resist a setup like this? And what's more curious, with what secrets a man like Odin Deisma might hide in his closet. Alright, to find the answer, you must first know who's asking. The beginning of the end appear chaotic and entangled. For those destined, the truth is easily grasped. I'm pretty sure we've seen that quote already, actually. Is that... Alright. To find an answer, you must first know who's asking. I guess this could reflect that some questions the answer to some questions depend on who the person is, and some might seek an answer, others don't. Maybe I had learned what happened with JC, maybe. But that was at best an incomplete picture, even though there wasn't necessarily direct violence tying Odin and Daisma to anything with that whole situation. A character this crazy and influential probably had some influence in Panthea. Like before, I was just too curious again. Okay, fine, have at it. Alright, let's see here. I held up my hands, partly for effect, partly to try and help contextualize things. This is one big puzzle. Everything in this room is deliberately placed, and the key, point of the plaque, is the quote. That's the truth to it all. That right? She ambivalently looked around the room. Gotta say, I'm not sure I'll be too much help in solving things. Oh, you're smart. Damn right I am, but I don't know a damn thing about Zindir or Ptah. All I know is Nemesis is that she's supposed to be the goddess of revenge or something. I don't think we need to know such a specific detail. I mean, maybe, that would be leaning quite a bit on specific mythology, and I'm not sure if that's Odin's style. He strikes me more of a Norse than Greek fan. A riddle involving these details isn't exactly clever. If that's the case, what's the point of labeling these mannequins? I mean, you're the one that said everything was carefully placed, right? Yeah, hold on. Hey there, just your local neighborhood Ez popping in with another minigame tutorial. We all know how this goes right now, so I'm just gonna get into it. Sometimes you need to think about things. I know, scary, but it doesn't have to be. Look, here's the deal. See that little doohickey in the top left? That's your brain button. BB for short. As you go through a logical series of thoughts, you might encounter words written in light blue. Those words are thought you're actively debilitating. If you press the BB while the words show up, you'll rearrange your thoughts and cycle through possibilities. Feel free to take time, go through your options. When you feel like you got a solid train of logic, continue along your thinking as you would at any time. Worst comes to worst, you get it wrong, you're an idiot, you get booted back to the first point, and mess up. Everybody hates you. Low stakes. And that's about it for logic, at least for now. Pretty simple, right? Alright, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's easy. The difficulty of the train of logic, that's pretty variable. Depends on how hard you want all this to be. How hard you want this to be. Go with average for this one. Okie dokie, saying difficulty, a very reasonable choice if I say so. For normal, I can reward with say 5 each time you complete the logic. Of course, if you go incorrect, the payout decreases, so try not to do that. Alright, so I have everything I have to cover. I don't have a lot of witty commentary here, I'll just let you get to it then. Good luck logicking. Oh, another thing about logic. Now you're thinking about something, sometimes you get a flash of inspiration. Yeah, you're in charge of that too. Now there's a new shiny button, one with a light bulb. You can click on if there's yellow text, but don't be all willy-nilly. Only try brainstorming if that idea will actually lead to a solution on the question you're stuck on. Else you'll waste time on a rabbit hole. Nobody likes rabbit holes. Except for other rabbits, but... Okay, I see your expression. I'm sorry, I'll shut up. Huh, I guess she pissed us off this time. What was the secret of this plaque? I knew I could solve it, I just needed to concentrate. What hints did I have towards solving the puzzle? The plaque was signed by Odin Daisma. However, I was willing to chalk that up as simple vanity. The actual lines were the important part, like the beginning and end of all things. I'm entangled. If I read through enough time, surely an answer would come to me, so I reread it. There's something here, but I need to know what to start with. Oh shit. Just made a mistake. Let me think of something else. Hey, wait a moment. That specific phrase, too specific. The awkward, the context felt forced. Holman talked about the beginning and end of all things, but I have a feeling we're looking for something more specific than that. We should be focused on the beginning and ends of the clocks. Shorthand could be considered the beginning and long the end. Those numbers... should really be focused on is the beginning ends of the names. Right. Zindi, Ptah, Nemesis. That's what we were looking for. I could take the beginning end of each of those names. They're all based off gods, which means there's probably some mythological origin. There's something more to all this. Next, all things appear entangled. And that refers to something maybe letters were entangled and need to sort them out. Do you know what that meant? No. I mean, it all made sense. Beginning and end of all things entangled. All seemed to add up if I took the first letter. Some if you get something, but what? What did that unscramble to? Or the inscription. Wait, who's asking the question? Myths. Ah, yes. Eggs up your hands my ass. It's Sphinx, baby. I clap my hands together. I got it. check out the answer. You do. That was fast. What can I say? Maybe I might as well use this after all. Yeah, spit out the answer. We can assess that front. Alright, so, like I said, the quote's the key. At first glance, it looks like a bunch of metaphorical nothingness, but in this case, rules like this, it's quite literal. Beginning and end of all things are mixed up is talking about the specific meaning of ends, specifically beginning and ends of all these names. Sorry, I don't know if I'm following. That's fine. Look, Xindi starts with an X, ends with I. That starts with P, ends with H. Oh, I see. So for Nemesis and an S, putting it all together, we get X, I, P, H, and S, which, hell that mean? Remember, the beginning and ends are mixed up. Those letters are an anagram, specifically Sphinx. Yeah, makes sense. It's another mythological thing, and more to the point, it addresses the first part of the quote. To find the answer, you must know who's asking the question. We know who's asking the question, the Sphinx. I know this Sphinx is riddle, right? I learned about this when I was a kid. Exactly. Those specific names might be too niche, but I think most people have heard the Sphinx's riddle at one point or another. What is 4 legs in the morning, 2 in the middle, and 3 in the afternoon? 2 in the morning, 2 in the middle, 3 in the evening. I believe there's also another one, but this is the most common one. Man, I always thought this was a stupid riddle. So did I, but the point is, we know what we're answering now. We need to represent the Sphinx's riddle with what we have. Conveniently enough, there's 3 phases of man, 3 mannequins we can manipulate here, and each of the mannequins has a clock above them signaling the time of day. Wait, can you tell which is morning, which is night? I mean, it doesn't specifically say AM or PM. It could be 6:30 AM and 8 PM, or 6:30 PM and 8 AM. I think the second option is a bit more in line with the typical definitions of morning and evening. More to the point, I know it's the second interpretation because that lines up with the next step of the riddle. Man, you're fucking coy with delivering this. Way of delivering this is really starting to get under my skin. Sorry, bad habit of mine. Anyways, we gotta make sure the morning man has 4 legs, the afternoon 2, night 3. Next is a little bullshit, but then again, so is the original puzzle. So Ptah, the one that represents evening, already has 3 legs. See, 2 actual, and the hammer is touching the pedestal. So to line up the rest of the riddle nicely, I walked over to Nemesis, wrestled the shield out of her hand, walked over to Xindi. Xindi represents the middle, has just 2, so I took the bow staff out of hands. The rule is just in the rule, the truth is easily grasped. True. Keyword grasped. Walked over to Nemesis and put the bow staff in her now free hand. Fed effortlessly. With this, Nemesis, the one representing morning, now has 4 legs. 2 normal ones, the spear that touches the pedestal, and now the staff. Riddle solved. Huh. Pretty neat, I gotta say, but one little issue, and that is, nothing's happening. She was right, I looked around, but nothing seemed different. Had I messed up somewhere? Or I walked back to Nemesis, took the bow staff, turned it 180 degrees, and put it back. As soon as the staff touched the pedestal, I heard an audible click. See, that right there's a shitty puzzle design. Whoa, what happened? Well, the noise seemed to come from the middle of the room. The only thing in the middle of the room was a plaque, so I bent down, grabbed the side, and tried lifting it. I was worried that, again, I was about to make an ass of myself. However, to my pleasant surprise, I was able to lift the oversized plaque up around a hinge, revealing a dark passageway. Underneath the plaque, a stone staircase led down the dark cellar of unknown prospects. Voila, a secret tunnel. Damn, this is... Words evaded Laura, and I couldn't blame her. She had said this is the type of thing that won't happen in fiction. Seeing it with my own eyes, I couldn't help but agree. It was kind of unbelievable. Right at the top of the stairs, the light still reached, I noticed a big switch attached to something of a fuse box. It wasn't labeled, but I had a decent guess of what it is. If I understood this mechanism well enough, at normal times there was a sort of magnetic lock keeping the plaque in place, preventing it from being opened outward like this. The tip of the bow staff probably has some magnets in it, so that when it's placed in direct contact with the section, the lock disengaged. However, with this setup, if someone was down below the stairs and someone flipped the plaque and removed the bow staff, the person could very well get trapped in there. My guess is the switch was a secondary failsafe. If flipped, it would also disengage. But again, just a guess. So we should head down the unknown. Gonna be real with you, I'm a high-ranking dual member, and even I'm creeped out by that passageway. The feeling is mutual, trust me, but the one talking about how dangerous Thane is. I know. Alright, then against my better judgment, I guess this is where we're going. Laura took in a deep breath and began to walk down the stone stairs, walking to the black abyss. Some voice in the back of my brain shouted out, telling me this was my last chance to turn around. If I went down the stairs, I'm crossing a threshold that can never be undone. My discovery of this passageway and my choice to go down would fundamentally change my destiny. But I wasn't one to be bossed around by the bosses in the back of my head there. Took a step in the darkness. Whoa, wasn't that just a blast? There was a nice little boat ride, a stroll through some spooky woods, and top it all off, a fun little escape room puzzle for Laura and Mercury. Isn't that just fun? What about the whole imminent death thing? Oh, you're one of those type of people. Real glass half empty type. You have to fix that attitude. Won't last very long if you keep that up. As fun as the journey was, though, you have to take a pause at your destination. I mean, secret bunker in the house of a bajillionaire in the middle of the woods. Can't say there's many super fun endings to that story, except if it's an elaborate wine cellar. That's the one, that's the actually fun option might be, but I kind of doubt it. Oh, you know what, this is perfect for a bet. Yes, a bet what's in the basement, assuming there's a basement in the first place, which now that I say it, not sure. Could be a tunnel. Whatever, the tunnel's its own type of basement, I'm working with it. But it's a little open-ended, huh? That's a bit of a problem. I want to get a bit more specific. Let's bet whether or not there's somebody down there. I don't care what condition. Dead, imprisoned, enjoying fine wine, whatever. I just want to know if you think there's somebody in that cellar. Yeah, I was about to say, guessing specifically what is in the cellar or tunnel is a bit too specific. Now, like I said, I do speculate that my bets here may actually be impacting the story to some level. Now, granted, the fact there's only one save file while the Zodiac trial had many, it could be to cut down on save scumming, granted. But at the same time, since this is almost pure VN, I could always just skip the puzzles and redo the whole thing if I want another outcome. Maybe I'll even do that if I beat the game and find out that yes, it was. But, let's see here. Okay, now, let's see here. I don't care what condition they are, dead, imprisoned, enjoying fine wine, whatever. Just want to know if you think there's currently a person in that cellar. They don't have to be alive or anything. Alright, let's go with a bet. Fun, I like that. Hope you're right. But how confident you are on that guess? Time to doubt. Not especially, but... well, let's have some fun. Like I said, I haven't lost any bets so far, so... if I lose one, then I'll know that the story is a bit more linear. I mean, the way she pitches it, she says that she's technically just retelling a story that has already happened. So all these events, all of them, regardless of what order they're in, everything, the outcome is already determined. So in theory, this is just a single story that we're having fun betting and playing minigames on. And I will say, I do like the bet system here. It's simple, but it does make things a bit more interesting than just the minigames alone. Well, only one way to resolve that bet. We'll have to see what lurks below. It could be a ghost. Too spooky. No? Not scared? Boo. What's the point of you being scared of ghosts? I can't tease you about it. Whatever, let's move on. This is a silver lock. I could actually open immediately, but I think it's about time we went to someone else's story. I'm going to go with the gun. The unseen. There's nothing sitting on the toilet with nothing but a stomachache. It was almost nostalgic, certainly brought back memories. Not good memories, mind you, but those are hard to come by anyways. Point is the familiar feeling, which is weird, because I've definitely never been in a situation like this before. Why was I getting nervous? After some of the shit I've seen, this is nothing. Was it because of the environment? Fancy parties never did sit right with me. Hell, we're speaking about bad memories, but no, that's almost certainly not it. So then why? Ugh. I wasn't good at the self-diagnosis thing. Yeah. I remember when my first go at college, I ended up taking some psychology classes, and a lot of the students ended up trying to self-diagnose themselves with all sorts of stuff, report all this stuff, but long story short, the lesson learned was you can't really self-diagnose yourself properly. Yep. Seems to be common, but then again, maybe that was an intentional part of the... thinking back, maybe that was an intentional part of the teacher's lessons to get people to think they're confident enough they can even do it on themselves, only to get a harsh lesson. You never know. The interesting thing about college compared to school prior is that each teacher has their own way of doing things, and as such, you never really know what you're gonna get. I spent so much time on my own head, but I could hardly understand it. My moods often felt arbitrary, and maybe that's what this was, an arbitrary mood. Not a helpful one, but since when have moods been helpful? Sometimes you walk in a room and forget why you came. Your body, your mind, it could just be cruel. So what to do? I focus back on my counting. 319, 318, 317, 316. They're counting down. 15. What was so calming about counting? The fact that it was rhythmic. The fact it was simple. Whatever it was, it did bring me back down to earth. I've been waiting in the restroom for long enough. The gala was in full swing outside. It's almost time to play my part. Alright, get it together, body. Standing up any second now. Any second. My body seemed to resist the impulse to stand up for as long as it possibly could. However, after enough urging, I got to my feet. I left the stall. I began to exit the restroom, and it was at this point the door swung open. Ah, shit. Secretary Grani. Hey, what are you doing? Hey, what are you doing here? It's Devin. I struggled to meet Secretary Grani's gaze. Even if I didn't know where this conversation was going, I recognized that tone. Nothing good came from that tone. In my position, it was best to keep my head down and stay silent. You're the same guy that came down here like 10 minutes ago. Don't think I didn't see that. Well, yes, sir, that's me. Gani chuckled to himself as if surprised by my gall. Then his face tightened. Wow, I mean, just wow. I get you might have bad to take a big ship, but unless you get, like, serious medical issues, no way in hell you should be in there for that long. Seems to me like you're bailing on your duties. Oh, that's not what... Hey, did I finish talking? Hey yo, fish talking? No. I'm glad I was wearing a mask or he would have been able to see my face turn completely red. Man, where do you punks get off? What, you think just because I'm doing things I don't have my eyes open, think get away with it because I'm dumb or something? Not at all. Shit. You know, I know how I look, but you don't get to be the right hand of one of the most influential people in Panthea by being an idiot. Of course, sir. Whatever, I shouldn't be wasting more of your time. Just get back to work, okay? I will. Once again, the secretary shook his head bewilderedly. I don't play player, man. I've slacked off long enough to spot a slacker. Without another word, he walked past me in one of the stalls. I awkwardly just resumed washing my hands. Keeping count while holding my own in conversation was tricky. I don't know why I got flustered by him so easily. It's not like he really mattered. As I reached for the soap, I thought I heard the soft of a lighter. This moron was really going to light a joint in here, of all places. I mean, I knew he was always high, but this is ridiculous. Well, I encourage it. The more blazed he is, the more likely he wouldn't remember this interaction. That would be a win in my book. After drying off my hands, I put back on my gloves, because those were so vital to doing my job right. This mask itched. As much as I hated to say it, Governor Ijo was a little eccentric for making all the staff wear this getup. I wasn't exactly sure how I felt about it. Yeah, I think my theory before about her being involved with whatever this situation is might actually have some accuracy, because eccentric or not, the fact that the butlers, waiters, whatever, they all have to wear stuff that makes it impossible to properly identify them so that someone could easily get lost in the crowd. That's too suspicious. But it gave me a natural reason to hide my face, so that was a plus. Finally, I made my way out of the restroom and into the hallway. On the other side of the hallway was the door of the boiler room. I wasn't an architect, but it struck me as a bit of an odd layout. Well, what did I know? As I walked down the hallway of the gala, I got back to the groove. I'm a waiter. Right now, I just have to do my job. 257, 256, 255. As I entered the gala's main room, I once again took a second to admire the opulence of it all. It's not like I had never been to a fancy place before or anything, but it had been a while. The band was in full swing, so this is before the murder took place. The music playing wasn't exactly to my taste, but I could certainly appreciate its quality. The guests were all dressed to the nines, all ooze, style, and class. If you sold the group's wardrobe, you could probably house and feed a family for a year at minimum. Years? I was bad with calculating money. Point was, it was a lot. Food and drinks all sported impressive price tags. And you know, a place like this probably has at least a 4-drink minimum. Let's not even pretend it's going to be anything less than that. Their taste probably matched. Or did they? Question crossed my mind. Was this any better than any other party? Did the spacious area really add anything? Was the music more worthwhile than a typical EDM? Oh dang, this guy's definitely a fan of No Straight Roads. These expensive, or maybe not, since EDM was the villain in that one and indie rock was the protagonist. Fortunately, these expensive outfits looked less comfortable than casual clothes. Some people say that when you're dancing, you're really happy. It didn't take a mathematician to calculate that less people were dancing at this party than at some rave. So was it really worth all that? Probably, I guess. I was pretty dumb, especially about things like this. On the other hand, rich people do tend to be pretty intelligent. I mean, they know more than me. They could do whatever they wanted, chose to do things like this. They had for centuries. I guess it depends. I mean, the ones who earned their living, I could probably, but I imagine there's no shortage of people there who had quote-unquote earned their living simply because their parents did it for them and they inherited the wealth. So even though from my perspective the whole thing felt a bit excessive, I'm sure I was just missing something. It is still possible, yeah. Still, some part of me couldn't help but wonder. Pretty much every person of decent wealth in Panthea stood in this room. The party wasn't exactly cramped, well there was probably a reason for it. That sort of thinking was beyond me. Much better for simple things like serving drinks. I grabbed a tray and got to work. Made my way through the crowd, couldn't help but eavesdrop on a particularly loud conversation between two well-dressed ladies. So how are you enjoying the gala so far? It's fine. I can't help but feel I just done better in the past. Well, that goes without saying, considering everything else about her. It makes sense her parties would also be in decline. Ah, true. But perhaps it's not her fault. It's been incredibly dull so far. Usually there's some drama. Where's the drama? Wait for some of these men to get more drinks in, and then we'll see this party's real worth. Cheers to that. Then they clinked their drinks. Honestly, does Ida really need to hold these fundraisers? Rumor has it she's already getting plenty of funding. Besides, it's been over a decade since anyone really gave her a run for her money. Oh, you haven't heard? There's a new candidate for this election. Do tell. Yes, a real folksy type, a man of the people. Again. whatever whips up the masses. At any rate, I've heard he's amassed a reasonable amount of support so far. Is he particularly impressive? Not by any measure, but then again, I suppose he's not trying to rally to me. But really, he's run more of an offensive campaign thrust so far. He's been pointing out Ija's inadequacies, how those filthy dwots have still been unchallenged, how it's never been worse for small business owners, how the only policies Ija ever seems to bother passing makes Panthea more isolationist and self-sufficient. Really going for the jugular, huh? Apparently. And power to him, someone needs to say it. Ija's been getting far too self-assured for my liking. Yeah, there's definitely something going on with the city and the four major powers within. Indeed. Honestly, I don't think she's a very good politician at all. And as a person, so pretentious. Pretentious is one of those words that feels like it's lost all meaning to me these days, just because it feels like anytime someone has a complaint about anything, movie, game, show, whatever, they'll always add the complaint pretentious regardless of context. So it feels like a generic insult you can put anywhere, really. A generic complaint, I mean, although many tend to use it as an insult. Seriously, I'm thanking my lucky star she hasn't come over to us and tried to schmooze. That said, you're still going to donate a token amount to her, right? Naturally. Pay your dues and such. Not worth the hassle doing otherwise. What we put up with. Yeah. Another cheers, but in so many seconds. Listening in on this whole exchange, all I could do is bite my tongue. Forget it, let's walk away. Honestly, I didn't have time to waste with such petty eavesdropping. Over there, Art was talking with Odin. It was in a hushed tone, but still loud enough for me to overhear. I'm just saying, this might be an ideal time for you to, you know, retire. I'm not trying to be forceful. Oh, just say it, you pansy. I don't recall raising a weakness. Well, I do recall you raising a workaholic. I'm well aware of your philosophy regarding a man's worth, Odin, which is why I know I might be coming across as insensitive. You're not coming across as insensitive, you dolt. You're coming across as calculating. You just want me completely out of the picture. And you know me, I respect calculating. God knows your siblings could have used more of that gene. But I have no intention on completely bowing out of the company. Why would I? Well, if you listen, I know your damn sales pitch. It'll be all the typical talking points. I'm already relaxing most of the time. I'm pretty much retired already, only with the bonus of poking my nose into affairs when I want to. So you know, I don't think there's any sense in giving up my 25% share of the company. Art sighed heavily. He was well aware of how obstinate Odin could get. I'd be much more understanding if I could get a better sense of where some of your ideas have been coming from. They just don't make sense to me. Well, that's the problem, isn't it? As good as you are with details, you've always been completely abysmal at the bigger picture. So then help me see. Is that how this family has ever handled things? You want to know what motivates me? I've given you all the clues. You want to seek out the Trimurti? Be my guest. But it's just like everything else. I'm not going to hand that out to you. Especially not that. So you're saying you do have some sort of agenda? You tell me. Oh. There's definitely something more to that story. However, this was neither the time nor place to look into it. And to be frank, it's probably best not to look into Daizma business at all. On the other side of the table, Polly was drinking by himself. It was painfully apparent he'd been drinking for a while. Typical. I could work with that. A few tables away, so sat Cyrene. She also seemed to be a bit tipsy, but clearly in higher spirits. She was in particularly lively conversation with her boyfriend. I was going to guess boyfriend. Most notably, she had an oversized purse hung on the back of her chair. See her phone in it from here. This wasn't luck, though. This specific opportunity presenting itself? Sure, that's lucky. But I was on the lookout for opportunities, and the odds that something like this came up was actually pretty high. I made my way to her table. A tray of wine glasses occupied one of my hands, which left one free to swipe the phone in a clean, practiced motion while I passed by. In the corner of my eye, I noticed it was still unlocked, left on some sort of social media. Cyrene was the type of sociopath to lock her phone the moment she was done with it. Excellent. Now this was lucky. I continued to wander for a bit, putting on airs, but for this to work, the timing had to be pretty precise. Oh yes, this guy is in fact the murderer that Laverne is looking for in the other story. When I got an opportunity, I stopped, placed the tray down on a nearby table, and stood by the wall. It was a perfect unassuming moment for a waiter to be checking his phone, only this wasn't his phone or my phone, it's Cyrene's. As much as I'd love to snoop around, I'm professional. I opened the messaging app. Quickly I found Polly's contact. The last texts were more recent than I would have expected. To double check, I looked it over. Sure enough, both Polly and Cyrene's tables were on the side of the room, so this would work, judging by Polly's state of sobriety, or complete lack thereof. It wouldn't take a lot. Something short, sweet, and inciting. With a slight smirk, I typed up something quick. Brother's bigger dick than you. That'll do it. Alright. 68, 67, it was time. I picked up Back up the wine tray with one of my arms, had the phone in my other hand. My thumb hovered to the send button, but not yet. Patience, take things step by step. I moved past the table after table. There was Cyrene's. I pressed the send button, and a second later, dropped the phone back in her purse. I didn't even bother looking back. If she noticed this little sleight of hand, I was already fucked. But she didn't, because I was a professional. Devin the professional. 9:58. Yeah, like I thought, she hadn't noticed anything, but someone had. Fuck's this about? There you go, Polly. Make an ass of yourself. Again, I didn't need to turn around to know what was happening. The completely inebriated jackass he was, Polly was not going to take that last message lying down. Cyrene and Polly's on and mostly off again relationship was incredibly volatile. This wouldn't be the first screaming match the two would get in. This would just be the most public and the most useful. Now came the main event. On the other side of the room, I saw him. If you'd seen him, you knew what to look for. At every even keel, I made way over to him. Not directly over. I planned my moves a few steps ahead. I moved circling towards him. He would be on my arc, but not my final destination. That's how it would appear to a common observer, at any rate. This all sounds awfully technical and highbrow for just walking to a person, but I had to put a lot of thought into these minor things. There's minor things that made or broke these operations. As I began approaching, I held the tray with wine glasses closer to my body. I couldn't make this a major incident. It needed to be nothing more than a minor hiccup. Closer. As I got right next to him, I carefully tripped over Mr. Athens' foot. The deft hand. I directed the spilling glass on the left side of his coat. The whole thing panned out perfectly. Most importantly, Polly's freakout was drawing everyone's attention. The following interaction would be between Mr. Athens and myself alone. Excellent. As soon as the old man realized what happened, his face turned to a scowl. I say, is this the type of service I should expect? I'm so sorry, sir. Please, let me help you out. I would think so. Honestly, I was surprised at how tame his response was. I thought he'd be an even larger dick. Still, I need to play the panicked, nervous waiter. I placed the tray on a nearby empty table, then I took out a rag and began drying off the spill. Some people probably bristle at this gesture. They'd think it too much, but not Mr. Athen. To him, it made sense someone would fix their mess. That someone else would clean him up. Was it a little much to bank on his arrogance? Maybe, but I had backup. This was just the best case outcome, because as I was drying him off, it was the perfect opportunity to plant it. The suit Mr. Athen was wearing had a big, obvious front pocket. It was practically begging me to slip something in there, and sure enough, I slipped my prepared rag in the pocket. Probably noticed it for too long. The plan was he wouldn't have too long to notice it, but the rag was just the opening volley. The real key was the ice cube. Mr. Athen wouldn't be distracted for long, but the old coot was well past his prime. He wasn't the attentive type. A real magician would have an absolute field day with him. So my next move took a little effort. I palmed the ice cube, then slowly melted in my pocket. Honestly, I'm surprised it was still mostly intact. Preparing in the bathroom, I was worried it would melt quickly. Yes, ice keeps its form longer than expected. Very subtly, I placed in the glass of wine Mr. Athen was drinking from. When I knocked into him, he had recently placed it on the table, placed it in prime position for me to drop the poison ice cube. I didn't even look at the glass, I just maintained eye contact. Made sure Mr. Athen didn't notice. He didn't. And like that, this old man's fate was sealed. Sometimes when I did my job, I feel the need to apologize. Not to the person themselves, but just to somebody. Looking at the man's face, however, I didn't waver for a moment. He brought this on himself. He dreamed bigger than he should have. Fought nastier than he should have. The man had a very simple, very basic job. Even I couldn't fuck it up. For whatever reason, Mr. Athen couldn't just do the bare minimum. He strove for more when he had it all. Just that's something the universe always tends to punish. 33, 32, 31. And so sorry. I bowed and began to put some distance between the two of us. However, before I got too far, I took one last item from my pocket. I crumpled a page of the Bible. I highlighted a specific verse from the book of Psalms. The one I highlighted didn't really matter. It just felt like something fittingly ominous. The page itself, however, carried quite a bit of meaning. When I first read Cock Robin, I was sort of stunned. I didn't particularly like the poem. Much the opposite. I sounded like nonsense. Read it 4 times, still couldn't understand it. But I didn't understand a lot of poems. They tended to be too abstract, they'd often get above my head. So I tried looking up the meaning online, hoping someone on the internet would know what the hell poem was talking about. Turns out the internet was just as torn as I was. Some guy said he was trying to talk about the fall of some British dude called Robert Robin. Someone else said it was a parody of the death of King William II. He got killed by an arrow, I guess. Maybe he was telling the story of the Norse god Balder. Perhaps the death of the Celtic god Lu. Theory after theory, each thread bears the last. I came from the poem thinking it was really completely meaningless. That I was only recommended it because it was a clear, methodical list of distinctive things. Well, fair enough. The poem might not have meaning now. That just means I'd be the one to give it meaning. That note was right by the side of the table. It was close enough. Now I could make my escape. I took 3 steps away from Mr. Athen. Then a thought crossed my head. I turned back to the old man. Before I knew what I was doing, I spoke. Enjoy the party. After all, you'll never know who'll be your last party, that is. Last party, you tend to be specific. Without a moment of Furthermore, with clarification, I immediately turned away before I could see the old man's reaction, incredibly embarrassed. Had a bit more pizzazz. A bit more pizzazz my ass. How else this is supposed to make things better? Whatever, job complete. 21, 20, 19. Need to get out of here. Made my way to the exit. There's nobody in my way. Look casual, look casual. By the entrance, one of the waiters there's logging people on the guest list was standing casually. That's expected. That's good, honestly, but it might pose a tiny bit of an issue. No, that's only if I let it. I just decided to walk by him. I gave him a solid nod. There's a matter of confidence. If I just walked out like I was meant to, hey man, where you going? Just, smoke break. Alright, cool. Oh god, I thought it was gonna be a bigger issue. Open the door, walk through, and like that, I fled the premises. I was out of the building now, so counting was irrelevant. Instead, it was good practice to see how accurate I was. I had given myself 10 seconds of wiggle room. That was about how close I could cut it before risking the target would collapse before the lights ran out. That was the absolute worst case scenario. 10, 9, 8. I heard shouting. That must have been it then. People were panicking because the lights went out unexpectedly. That made sense. That was sort of emotional reaction I could track. Well, hold on, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Maybe the old coot collapsed early. Maybe that's what it's in reference to. Double check, I decided to look under the door. Sure enough, I didn't see any light. Great. Things had gone really well, but I couldn't zone out now. I need to remember I was still a few feet away from a dead body. I would be powerless, useless if I was in jail. I couldn't let that happen. So now to clean up loose ends. Wait, no, that made it sound like I was just beginning to clean up loose ends. That's what this whole thing was about. It's best to keep moving now, while adrenaline was working in my favor. Obviously, my first instinct was to try and put as much distance between this building and myself as possible. Part of being a professional was to ignore these first instincts. I could flee before removing my little friend in the boiler room. Theoretically, there's nothing about it that can link back to me. Still, its presence would give a lot of the game away. It was worth the risk to remove it. Go remove it. I sprinted around the area of the west side of the building, trying to circle the venue. It was really dark out, even with the light on the side of the building as it was out. Probably my fault. Oh well, I'd done my homework. I could circle the building blindfolded. Before long, I was on the other side where I spotted a small, open window. Dangling out of it was a nice small rope. I grabbed it and gave it a yank. For a moment, I was worried only the rope would follow. Luckily, the crude mechanical device I left in the boiler room was successfully fished out of the crime scene. I grabbed it with my hand and briefly admired my handiwork. A lot of people in my position would have the connections to craft something like this for them. I wasn't so lucky. Instead, I had to build it myself without much knowledge of how to make something like this. But I had time, I had patience, I had resources. I could do this much by myself. I mean, all it did was fry a simple circuit board. Not much to it. Anyways, now that I retrieved my tool, I didn't want to leave the window open. That was a sure sign of my guilt. The window's a little too high for me to reach without assistance. Luckily, as I said, I had done my homework. I grabbed a second rope, this one attached to the back of the window, and yanked it down. Sure enough, the window fell to a close. Pulled the rope hard and with some resistance, it detached. There. With a little ingenuity, I had erased my presence from the scene. Not hard at all. Now to get down. Now I could get started with the whole escape idea. Fastest way to flee would be a car down the road. I could be miles away in a matter of minutes. Luckily, I wasn't an amateur. That sort of escape was the type police studied. Type that would leave a trace that would eventually get me caught. I remember my mission statement. When I did job right, it was like I was never there. I was a non-entity, a hypothetical third-party killer with no evidence to prove or disprove me. I had turned my lack of presence into my weapon. So then an escape via car was out. What about my bike? Scooter? What if I just sprinted down the road? That wouldn't work either. Again, it wasn't the car that's the problem, it was the roads. I should take advantage of my strengths. Usually when people think about a killer, they think they got some life they need to return to. Since I didn't have that, I should abuse that. My only goal was escape detection. Speed wasn't an issue, so then not the roads, the forest. Made my way in the forest, the direction seaside. I knew where I was going, so I began my trek in the dark and the silence. I felt the need to put as much distance between myself and the crime scene, but again, professionals ignore their instincts. I need to be better. Really, once you got a few feet in the forest, most people wouldn't be able to spot you unless they were in the forest themselves. And that would only happen if they were looking for someone who had left the venue. If things had gone well, that wouldn't be the case. Remember, speed isn't important. Going detection is important. I need to make sure I wasn't leaving a trace. Light feet, careful feet. No footsteps, no trail of broken twigs. It was impossible to not alter a thing, but it was also impossible to tell light traces of a human apart from the general chaos of the forest floor. I just need to make sure I wasn't overt. Slowly, methodically, blindly move forwards. My destination wasn't close, but that was fine. Speed isn't the issue. Forwards. My mind drifted to the scene I left. At this point, the police were almost certainly there. Discovering my work. Good. Discover my work. Be misled. Be preoccupied. Search for the killer in the gala and not the forest. Forward, step by step, calmly. Was I going in the right direction? There's only one to go. Not like I could get lost. But did I go in the right direction to begin with? Of course I did. I practiced this. The nerves were natural, expected. After all, it had been hours? Hard to tell, but it would be hours before I reached my destination. With that sort of time commitment, I expected that I'd doubt myself, but doubting isn't important. What's important is moving forwards. Step by step, not a trace. At this point, this caution was probably unnecessary. If I'd done my job until now, it's not likely I could find my trail in the middle of the forest. But it was the principle of the thing. Why risk it? Even if doing a job worse had a 0% chance of having repercussions, you'd still be doing it worse. And you don't do a worse job if you want to be a winner. After what felt like ages, the tree line finally began to give away. Good, but don't rush to the edge, get caught up in the moment. Step by step, as I looked out, I could see the sea. The moon looked beautiful, reflected on the rocky waves. But obviously, I'd find the sea if I poked down on this side of the forest. I reached the place where I was meant to be. Scanned the seaside. There, found it. Sad little dock without much advertising, without a clear way to get to it, without any big or extravagant boats attached. I wasn't looking for an extravagant boat, I was looking for a small, beautiful boat moored on the pier, and I found it. Before exiting the forest, I quickly scanned the area once more. This time I was on the lookout for witnesses. There's no good reason for someone to be here at this time of night, but I was there, wasn't I? The world seemed small, and there's a lot of people living in it. Fortunately, fate was still on my side. Great. I carefully made my way down the dock. There. The boat. I didn't even know who owned this thing. I doubt they'd used it in months. Not that it mattered. I was taking off all the clothes that placed me as a member of the gala, stuffed into a little bag I had left on the boat, tied the bag, and tossed in the ocean. I debated whether it was better to hide these clothes in the ocean or in the middle of the forest. Ultimately, I decided both resulted in near impossible chances of ever being found. Now I just look like any other homeless person. It made sense that I'd lie down this random boat, and it made sense that I'd kick my legs out. This is where I was going to spend the night. Next day, I'd make plans for going back to my residence. But is this a touch excessive? Maybe, but boy, were investigators vicious. Spent days upon days trying to snag the smallest thread you leave dangling for them. One of the first methods they jumped to was tracking those locations. Not a chance in hell they could do that with me. I made myself comfortable in the boat. For the first time tonight, I could finally take a nice long breath out. First time I could lie back without the expectation to jump back to attention at a moment's notice. For the first time tonight, I stopped playing out scenario after scenario in my head. For the first time tonight, I could relax. Of course, that didn't mean I was going to relax. I probably hadn't relaxed truly in. My face soured. I couldn't exactly put a time when I call myself truly relaxed. But that might be a matter of semantics. Trying to define what truly relaxing is like trying to define what's true happiness. A question better for philosophers than me. I suspected this was another one of those trouble thoughts. The ones that would just send me to another spiral. The point was, lying in the darkness and the silence, I could feel content. Yes, that was the word, content. As far as I was concerned, that was the most admirable thing to strive for. If everybody could find their lot in life and be content, the world would be a fine place. And because people couldn't, well, that's why I was in a job in the first place now, wasn't it? Yes, this was nice. I'd done my job and done it well. Honestly, this whole plan was a lot more elaborate than I was used to. There's a lot of ways it could have gone wrong. Why go through all this trouble, I wondered? Maybe I was just tired of the same standard methods. Everybody wants to try challenging themselves, try to spread their wings and show their potential, but that wasn't it. Not really. Honestly speaking, this was the most straightforward way of achieving the optional objective that I could think of. For a question without a simple answer, this was as straightforward as I could get. Now when the police have arrived, they'd undoubtedly come to the wrong conclusion. The killer was somebody inside the party. They might even be bold enough to make an accusation. That'd be the ideal case. However, it plays out. Eventually they'll figure out how misguided they are, and when the frame attempt in the gala gets revealed, the media will have a field day with it. Next up will be super easy to complete, apparently. I never got the grander aspects of this job. I just needed to be killed. More importantly, there was nothing that could lead back to me at the scene. They wouldn't catch me for this murder. Well, if they did, it wouldn't be for any mistakes I made this time. This would be the time that some would become panic-stricken. They start worriedly thinking over every step or movement, wondering if there was any loose ends, but I knew better. I knew that I didn't leave any loose ends. By all means, it was a perfect job done perfectly. And that was why I could lay back and be content. That's why I could enjoy the silence and darkness. I cared if the floor I lay on was hard and dirty. I cared if it rocked unevenly. I knew better than anyone how phony luxury was. Man could be content lying on an expensive bed or on the ground dirt. It's simply a matter of attitude. Bugs were allowed. A perfect job done perfectly. Is that what I did? By my standards, I certainly had. By every metric, I judged my jobs I had. So what was wrong? What went bad? Someone died? Isn't that sort of bad? I scowled at myself. Seriously? An assassin? If someone dies, that means I did my job well. Well, that's a pretty sad job to have, then. Who would be weeping over Athen? He was, by every metric, the perfect target. Not a single friend, no family, no one would miss him. That can't be true. There's nobody in the world that wouldn't be missed for gone. Ha. Now there's a joke. Maybe I am funny, after all. Athen would miss himself. You can't miss yourself if you're dead. I ended a man's happiness. How could that not be bad? Athen deserved it. He wasn't a good man. He was a bad man, a traitor, snake, rat. Was that any better than my boss? What else? What really made him playing the game any worse than anybody else? In fact, some people might call what he intended to do noble if it's skewed short. But aside then, I did my research. I knew Athens' history. He'd been a sinner for a long time. So then, he fortified his life. He forfeited his life because he made mistakes he wasn't entitled to live. And that didn't seem right. If that was a metric to go by, I certainly wouldn't be entitled to live. Nobody is entitled to live. Millions of people die in cruel and irrational ways every day. The only thing that stops us from keeling over at any minute is luck. What's one more death? That's faulty reasoning. Just because bad things happen in other places doesn't mean the bad things I did are any less bad. Everybody deserves to die. Humans are evil at their core. God kills countless people with no regards to morality or utility. How then am I any different? Plenty of people curse God at the bottom of their heart. And did I really think of myself as a god? I certainly didn't. I didn't think of myself as a saint either. I didn't care about the morality of it all. Then why was I having this conversation at all? I'm not having a conversation. I'm tormenting myself, and it wasn't healthy. Even though I tried not to, I ended up spiraling again. At least I caught myself this time before I got too deep. Nothing good couldn't come of questioning things like that. It'd just be making myself sad. Nothing would change. It's not like this job was making my life empty. My life was empty before I started this job. Like I usually did when I got ungrateful, I thought about my lowest point, when I just lost what little purpose I had in life, when I was truly in an abyss, moving from day to day to day, without the slightest bit of life in my eyes. Days where I wouldn't think a single productive thought. Days that would pass, I didn't say a single word. Days where I didn't do a single thing in my free time. I just stewed in guilt over an anger and sorrow. Pathetic, powerless. We're talking about people who didn't deserve to live. Well, never was no more prime example than myself at the time. There's nothing for me other than to question how I'd gotten to this point. But as empty of a life as I was living, I was still living life. I still had to go from day to day. Often I would try to drown in alcohol, and while drinking alone is enticing, it required forethought to buy beer ahead of time. That was the type of forethought I didn't tend to have back then. So many nights I'd go to a bar, and they had plenty of them. Not that I ever really made a choice between them. Whatever was closest, I suppose. In some ways, I preferred bars to drinking alone. On some level, I appreciated having other broken people like me. Made me a bit less lonely, I guess. But there was one problem with that. You really don't want to interact with people as broken as yourself. Oh, that dipshit. I didn't want anything to do with him. I literally said nothing. Can't remember what got him started. The memories are too blurry, but I knew it wasn't worth anything. The guy must have been looking for a fight. Most would have pushed back at some point. There weren't many people who just sit there in silence taking his drunken abuse, but I was different than most drunks. I knew patience. I knew how to tolerate abuse. I behaved in a way no one could fault that night when I was in the bar. When I was out of the bar? I mean, who can fault me? How much of an asshole do you have to be to literally follow someone out of a bar or just be dick to them? I mean, absolutely nothing going on in my life, and even I thought that was pretty pathetic. It was the middle of the night. There was literally no one else around. Sad thing is, I literally can't remember his face. I couldn't tell you his hair color, eye color, or anything about him. He's a blur. There's just one thing I remember. His voice. Pathetic. I'm sure there was some context to that word. Some insult attached to the front or back of it. Maybe, pretentious? That's the only word I remember. That's the thing that set me off. I'd forgotten just how strong I was. I was too drunk to control myself. There's a sad story, but an incredibly common one. The amount of times this exact thing has happened is honestly kind of shocking. I was just the next scumbag drunk who went too far. Forgot how fragile people were around concrete. By all means, that should be the end of things. Took another sigh out, then stretched out my arms, but I was lucky. That wasn't the end for me, that was the start. If it wasn't for that, I would have had a worthless life. I would have lived life powerless, sad, pathetic, and eventually dead. And look at me now, I was happy. Well, not happy, never happy, but content. Where I was now I was content, yes. Why was I questioning things like that? This was surely better than before, right? This was the worthwhile life. After so much reminiscing, it was clear I wouldn't be getting any sleep anytime soon, so instead I sat out on the boat and pulled out my burner phone. It seemed like now was as good time as ever to think about my next target. I still had an optional target on the docket. Optional are basically the low priority ones. They didn't need to die, at least not anytime soon. They were still better off dead. There are contracts I get paid for if I choose to take them in my spare time. I don't really care about pay, though. I just like to be thorough. If someone's better off dead, better end them sooner than later, right? That was the sort of service that made me so valuable. I looked over the file, started on the optional target. Pretty threadbare. Still, I didn't think I'd have a problem with this one. She was pretty easy to find. Studied the blurry photo. The one had long, dark brown hair and distinctive silver eyes. The picture's from a pretty bad angle. How was this the best shot we had of her? Whatever, it was enough. I'd make meeting her soon enough, and I'd make her another verse. Laverna, I'd be meeting with you soon enough. Hey you, yes you. Ever heard of a little something called utilitarianism? Yes, I have. It was in Devil Survivor 2, I believe. You might have. So do you believe in it? Like a guiding philosophy. It's basically wherever people are on the same level. I honestly don't know, to be completely honest. Really? Okay, maybe you're a step ahead of me. See, I used to think utilitarianism was like ideal philosophy. Not for me, of course, but in the end of the public, wouldn't that just be the thing? Like, boom, philosophy solved. Yeah, philosophy is notably not solved. What's up with that? People just dumb and that's prolonged an easy debate this long? Honestly, I wouldn't put it past humanity. It's entirely possible, if we're completely honest, yeah. But no, I've had some more time to reflect on it and think I've come to a different conclusion. Utilitarianism is the perfect theoretical philosophy, at least for the purposes of the public, but that's the thing. It's perfect theoretical, and the only people who care about theoretical philosophies are philosophers. If you're looking for practical, ones you can put in action, utilitarianism suddenly gets riddled with holes. See, how can you tell what's going bring about the most good? No human can, not really. A genius would struggle with that, not to mention the amount of idiots there are going around. So here's the kicker. Does the belief in utilitarianism ironically produce more bad in the world? Because as a guiding philosophy, it's a lot easier to do bad with utilitarianism. Kind of a max cap on the harm a strict teen can do. Strict situations where not murdering someone's going to result in a major harm do happen, but they're kind of few and far between. Utilitarian will match world burn with a smile on the face. I think it's the best. Now, I'm still not coming down hard against utilitarianism. It has pros, very obvious pros, but we're talking the practical sense. It certainly isn't the runaway choice. Just a little something that's been on my mind. I don't want to continue Laverna's story, since it seems these two are going to come in direct conflict, and who wins, I'm not sure. But we still have two more stories to continue here. So. Ooh, and I got another bronze key out of that, most likely to continue specifically to continue Laverna's story. Alright, we're going to be continuing with the Gambler. Hit boss. Is this a Marduk's story? Ah, Panthea. A lot of people called it an ugly city. It was derided as rotten. Of course, I'm not talking on the national scale. I'm talking about people who actually live here. People wise enough to see all its faults. They look at how the Dwats have taken over the street. Low crime rate sure as hell doesn't mean crime doesn't happen. They look at how Olimpo will slowly become a monolithic culture. Nobody likes a big monopoly swallowing everything else. They look at how stagnant things have been for the last few years. People can always find things to complain about in their situation. When that happens, they want the situation changed. Then they complain, and they have every right to do just that. It's the right of every person down the luck to lament their fortune. Me. Times like these, I tend to see the beauty of Panthea. No, not the beauty seen in the outside. I couldn't give two shits about how many mansions were built in some forest. The grand and beautiful designs all over the place didn't really match my aesthetics. Honestly, all that stuff just made me all the more resentful than anything else. I found beauty in this, the nightlife. The hustle, bustle of the city. It was far later than anybody should be out and about, and yet, look at how many people were out and about. For business, for pleasure, or a mix of both. There's a city of hunger, and hunger I could respect. Though maybe that's just the ego talking, because I was probably hungrier than anyone else traversing those dimly lit roads. And that hunger was my little walk to a local, we'll shall say, restaurant. I could see the distinctive sign further down the road. I was getting close. It was at this point I suddenly began to do a mental check on my appearance. Gave myself a once-over on a dim glass in the clothing shop. I was never one who overtly cared about my looks, but I definitely cared about my look. When a passerby saw me, the first thing they noticed was my flashy suit, purple blaze with green stripes run down it. I wore it over a pure black button-up, and the thing that kept it all together was a bright red tie. My pants matched the color palette of my blazer, if a bit more toned down. The only part of my attire that looked remotely pricey were my brown loafers. Yeah, it was certainly a look alright. Maybe it was a touch eccentric, or to put less favorably, cheesy. If we really wanted to go for the jugular, it was slimy. But you know, I liked it. I liked it a lot more than the greasy mop of a wig I call my hair. But not much could be done about that. Pleased with my self-analysis, I turned around and leaned to the glass. Aw, man. Times like this, I wish I smoked. I mean, I was happy with my choice not to. It does terrible things to your lungs, and I plan to live a long life. Still, there were certain points in my life I desired exactly what cigarettes provided. I was pretty certain if I was a smoker, I'd be taking a long drag right about now. Instead, the most I could do was take a deep sigh. Not nearly as fun. So then, did I want to go ahead with tonight? If my hunch was right, and intended to be, this would be the night things really went to high gear. I was already pretty deep in Panthea. To plot now would be a massive waste of time and resources. Not to mention I'd be giving up on the reason I came here in the first place. But the alternative People were fearful in Panthea for a reason. It was a dangerous place. I wasn't scared of the Dwots or something like that. Every indication showed they were your typical gangster organization. Powerful, but I knew how to work around them. So if not them, then who? What? Like it or not, the Dwots had carved out a pretty solid monopoly of crime. There weren't really a lot of other threats I could see. That just meant I couldn't see whatever other threats there were, and that was scarier than anything else. I had been to enough of these broken cities to already tell there was a deep darkness at the core of this place. Might not be the type I could afford to cross, so I stick out my neck out like this. I was putting a lot of skin into this game. There was no need. It was a big country. There was plenty of smaller, risk-free fish to go after. Looking at it logically, there was no need to go deep like this. Ah well, gamblers weren't really logical, were they? Like I said, I was hungry. Enough with the hesitation. This is just the pre-game jitters talking. I was smarter than just about anybody in this hellhole. A deeper darkness? Sheesh. Since when I get so dramatic? No. Oh, every rube walking these streets showed their hunger on their sleeve. So long as I kept those hungers in mind, I'd be fine. Worst come to worst, I'd just flee town. I was good at that, at least. I stopped leaning against the glass and resumed my walk. I was really close to the destination. Nahoi's Nest. There's no big billboard advertising location or flashy colors, just a humble wooden sign. That's all the advertising a place like this needed. As I approached, a man swung open the door. Looked like he was leaving in an incredibly sour mood. I could hear him cursing under his breath. A few steps behind him, some blonde was also leaving. However, she was walking the other direction, and she had a distinct smile plastered on her face. Miller's smile. That's a story. But if I stopped for every store I came across, I'd never get anything done. As I entered Nahoi's, I could hear the bell attached to the doorframe ring. New customer. The restaurant was nice. Quaint little place. A little cramped, but that was fine. A couple wooden tables, some chairs, neat candle lighting, some old posters of musicals, were they? They had some signatures. Clearly something the owner felt passionate about. What was most notable was, however, how the restaurant seemed to be empty. Usually this place had at least one legit customer ordering something. Must be a slow night. Alright then, enough pussyfooting about. I walked up to the receptionist. Hey Mickey, what's up? Locke. Hey Mickey, how's up? How's Langan? Doing okay, Locke. You? I'm doing. Sorry to hear that. Let's just say there's a reason I came here, but you must get that a lot. More often than I'd like. Well, don't mind me. I don't intend to be a nuisance. That's the thing about nuisances, they really intend to be them. How you wound me, Mick. Seriously, you know me. I know a lot about nuisances. The way this conversation is going, I'm starting to think you're a nuisance yourself. Hey, I don't get a lot of company up here. I like the conversation when I can get it. So that's why you should like me. I always give you some good conversation when I swing around. That's true enough. So then what are you here for? You actually in the mood for a meal? I'm here for the same reason I'm always here, because I'm hungry. Locke, you realize that doesn't actually answer my question. Mickey, have I ever actually been here for actual food? I don't know, you could start. Our service is actually pretty good, I'll have you know. Yeah, no arguments there, but you know why I'm here. Mind letting me down? Without the password? Isn't the password reserved for newbies, not regulars like yours truly? Password is the password, you need it to enter. Rules are rules. Oh, sheesh, you're killing me. Why, I think somebody's gonna be able to disguise themselves as me? Just say the thing, dude. Fine. I bet myself against yourself. Alright, this way. That's the password. It is always swordfish. The receptionist gave me a nod and started moving to a nearby door with a big employees only. A sign that was disobeyed almost 100% of the time. Followed him to a room, looking around one last time to make sure nobody was looking through a window. Not that it'd be my responsibility if somebody had seen this. The light was already on in the closet of a room. At first brush, it looked like it was just a room for storage, but then Mickey pushed on a specific plank of the left wall, and the plank pushed in. With it followed the wall. A reasonably disguised secret tunnel. As soon as he went down this rabbit hole, however, the vibe changed. It suddenly wasn't fancy or anything, but wood turned to stone, draped in furs. It wasn't dark, it was dark blue, then dark green, then dark purple. Indeed, the light slowly pulsated between the cool colors, creating a surreal atmosphere. I finished walking down the stairs and nodded to Mickey as he returned to his post. This was the real Nahoi's Nest, the biggest and best underground casino in all of Panthea. It is one of the few places blind to riches in the city. Rich, poor, middle of the road, all work welcome if you're willing to keep a secret. And no place for elitism here. This is the only place you could really let your gambling spirit run wild. You couldn't afford to be choosy, which is why you saw so many big spenders living up in a dingy underground lair. Concrete walls decorated with crude posters, tacky for carpeting. Dance music filled the air, albeit at a lower volume than might be expected. They had some pretty good sound insulation, but if you're running an underground operation, you can't exactly be blasting tunes at full volume. But you couldn't complain to the owner if you wanted to stay here. If they took complaints, they definitely do something about the lighting. I don't know anybody who appreciates the lighting, consisting of low pulsating colored lights and a single disco ball. Oh wait, I do know one person, me. I mean, apart from the practical aspect of it, I just kind of dug this style for its own right. Not many places like this. An old-fashioned speakeasy. Place is panicked with elation and sorrow, where some were looking for a good time and some were looking to make money, where all were living of a life in vague illegality. Comfortable blend of illegality, for that matter. This wasn't a hole for hardened criminals. If the police ever busted this place, it's unlikely many charges would stick. But it's illegal in the literal sense. It wasn't legal. That added an extra sense of tension upon anything else. This was my kingdom. These are my people. My gut instinct was to immediately hit up one of the tables, but hey, let's take it easy. A good night out started with drinks. For now, I'd hit up the bar. Made my way over. Luckily, at the moment, I was the only one getting a drink. That meant I could have a private chat with the bartender. I started speaking with Osa. Shame he didn't like me. Interesting. He looks quite familiar, don't you think? Locke? Hey, Locke, whoa, what's the reaction about? Just acknowledging you're here. Yeah, here to give your bar some much-needed patronage. My bar's been doing just fine, thank you. As has my casino. Also wasn't just the bartender, he was also the pit boss and the owner of this whole franchise. Well, quote-unquote owner. Some people might think that the owner acting as a bartender is a little odd, and they'd be right. But all things considered, this was a small outfit. Private rooms aside, the bar had a view of the whole casino, so it also could easily multitask. Besides, according to him, he enjoys the act of bartending. So it'll be Locke. It'll be Locke. So it'll be Locke. Any suggestions? Yeah, my most expensive drink. Oh, you. Just give me some Methane vodka. At this, Osa raised an eyebrow. A what? Nothing. You intend on actually doing some gambling tonight? Obviously, or I'd go to a bar and not a casino. I'm just curious as to why you're starting with Methane. What can I say? I like me some vodka. Besides, I've got high alcohol tolerance. And I do my best work when I'm just a bit tipsy. At this, I winked at Osa. If you saw the gesture, he gave no sign of it. Instead, he slowly turned around and reached for the drink I had asked for. He made no rush of filling up my shot. Osa wasn't exactly a fast mover, another reason I was grateful to have his undivided attention. When he handed me the glass, I toasted him and immediately downed the shot. That's the way to do it. Ah, that's a spot. Look at this to you, you're a unique drinker. That's the best compliment you could give me. Now that's done. Just give me a glass of some beer, dealer's choice. Just want something to sip for a bit. If that's what you want. Osa shrugged and turned back towards the rack. Now you've been showing up here a lot lately, and I thought that'd make you at least a bit grateful. Me? Grateful to one of my customers? Alright, bad choice of words on my part. Just, I don't know, less outwardly hostile. I really don't feel any particular way about you. If it makes you feel any better, I've been told by friends I give up a hostile air. I believe it. I only ask because your nightly visits have stood out to me. You strike me as the type to actually have a life. Implying the people who show up at your casino often don't have lives, huh? Once again, I get the feeling Osa has a weird resentment towards his own clientele. Damn straight, I have a life, buddy. Gambling is my life. Maybe I'm not being clear enough. You seem to have a lot of money to throw around. What can I say? I'm a good gambler. Not that good. I've kept track of your games. You don't win nearly enough to make a profit. Well, who said my wings are from here? Not helping your case. How do you figure that? You and I both know you don't make big bucks from gambling on a whim. You don't even make big bucks from being skilled. You're saying that you made it big from some previous gamble, whatever it came from. You're either a miraculous idiot. Osa placed my glass of beer down on the counter with a bit of force. Or you swindled that money. Osa gave me a bit of a stare. I didn't break eye contact as I grabbed the beer and took a sip. What can I say, mon ami? I adored by many ladies. Miss Luck is just one of my many conquests. If I didn't know him better, I would have thought Osa just rolled his eyes like a teenage girl. I'm just saying, you better not be causing any trouble. You know what I do to cheaters, right? Osa, the blood dried on your knuckle tells the story far better than you could. At this, Osa just grunted and went back to polishing another empty glass. I intended to make some more small talk, however, before I said anything, my eyes were drawn to the events playing out on the poker table behind me. Fuck off! The sound of the glass being slammed to the table echoed throughout the place. Oh, this is gonna be good. Standing on the end of the table was Polydysma, troubled air extraordinaire. The dude was as good as a propaganda machine against his family's company as there got. He seemed to trip into scandals at every possible opportunity. His family seemed to equally treat him as a complete disgrace. On the other side of the table was a face I wasn't familiar with. There's some red-headed chick looking reasonably frightened. The girl is pretty attractive, wearing some oversized glasses and fashionable outfit. Stacks of cash sitting on her side of the table was also a plus. Behind her was her friend, wearing a slightly odd denim outfit. She looked less scared, more pissed off. Alright, though not nearly as angry as Polly was. You're gonna just go to the casino and cheat people. Well, not this guy, honey. I'm not one of your stooges. I'm sorry, but I don't know what you're talking about. I get being upset. I did take a lot of your money, but you bet it. I don't care about the money. I don't give two shits about money. Alright, fuck the money. Hey, what I care about is that you got the gall to try and cheat me. Cheat you? What do you mean? I was really sure I followed all the rules. We went over it so many times. No use hollering there, Polly. You were in Ahoy's nest, where the rules are king. If it's legal, hell, if it's illegal but it's not caught, it'll fly and be enforced. No, you don't. I'm a fucking god of the stupid star game, and I know for a fact you don't make the moves you made unless you know what the other person had. And the only way that works is if you mark the cards. You're saying my moves don't make sense? Well, darn, I put a lot of thought in them, too. It looks like I got lucky, don't you think? Polly's eyes flared with rage. The redhead was not helping her case. By the bar, noticed also cracking his knuckles. Oh boy, were we about to get some real action here? However, before the fun could begin, another person made a move. Oi, dipshit, that's enough of that. A random girl beat us to the punch. She looked a little familiar, so at first I thought I might have known her. However, I probably would have remembered encountering someone with hair dyed bright pink. Ow. Ah, so the person who was killed in the other story was Chara. Chara, Say, Car, I'm in the middle of something here. You're in the middle of making a right ass of yourself. Let's get out of here. Or what, do you want to be on tomorrow's front page as well? Really trying to give your brother more ammo? Think I give a shit about what that dickhead thinks? Put me on a month's worth of newspapers for all I care. Yeah, see, that's the problem. As much as I'd love to watch you self-destruct, you got a promise to keep and some work to do. That means waking up at a reasonable time, and that means getting out of this bog. The girl gave Polly another tug, and this time Polly stumbled backwards with it. Fine, fine. Bedtime for me. Before leaving, however, Polly turned back around. Don't think I'm forgetting you, though, you cheat. These little scams are gonna catch up with you one day, hear me? At this, the girl gave Polly one more push toward the stairs. I'm really sorry about him. He probably didn't mean it. He's just a proper buzz. Oh, it's okay, really. I mean, it's not your fault or anything. Well, it's my job to make sure he's not faffing about in places like this, so it is a little bit. I'll be seeing ya. With that, the girl followed Polly up the stairs and out the casino. With the situation resolved, people began to look elsewhere. The scene came and went. Wow, that was a show, wasn't it? Oh, you look unenthused. Right. Really, you didn't get any enjoyment out of that? When you're in my line of work long enough, scenes like that are too common to be interesting. Isn't that the sad truth? Good thing for the prince, his girl came and bailed him out soon enough. Things would have gotten really ugly for him and pushing it. Ugly for him? I was a little surprised, but on further thought it made sense. Also was about to step in before the fight got broken up. Must have planned to take the redhead side. Plan on putting that rich prick through the ringer, huh? Not if I could help it. Not if I could help it. What on earth did that mean? I considered asking him for more info. However, before I got the chance, I lost my privilege of being the only customer at Elsa's. It's Kane. If you're guessing the walking disaster would have lost a fight to glasses, I would have to agree. Also, Scotch whiskey, please. Yeah, I think Kane is a lot more tied into things than we may have realized at first. Also, just grunted about this. If he had disdain towards me, he hated this Joker. Fair enough. Who the hell liked Kane? Governor Ija, maybe. For everyone else with half a brain, the Oracle is nothing but a pro-state propaganda. And the head of it, Kane Shea, a limp dick puppet. Well, I'm sure he had his fans. He didn't get to be the de facto source for news without any approval. We weren't likely to find his fans in a place like this. Made me wonder why he even bothered showing his face in a place like this. Maybe the dude was a masochist, or secretly self-hating. Maybe he's a real gambling junkie, desperate to get his fix. Sort of doubted that last possibility, though. Walking disaster, huh? That's what you call Polly Dysma? What, you disagree with me? Not particularly. Just surprised that's a nickname you'd give him. And why is that? Did you recently do a puff piece for Olimpo? I thought you were on their side. Or are all the opinions you put out complete hollow horseshit? I take it you're aware of me. Most around these parts are. Huh. Unfortunately, I'm afraid I can't say the same. You are? Locke. Locke, then. He offered a handshake. It felt a bit weird to take it, but flat out rejecting was a bit rude. For the record, unlike a lot of reporters, I do at least actually stand by everything I write. And yeah, I back Olimpo. I don't back Polly Dysma. The guy's a mess. Entitled little shit who hasn't done an honest work a day in his life. He's a poster child for the worst type of rich person. You're saying they're a good type? Ha. Alright, maybe you got me there. That non-response let me know that yes, indeed, this guy probably did think that. I was savvy enough to know this wasn't the environment for that sort of talk. I was in a confrontational mood, however. Seriously, why back Olimpo in the first place? I mean, okay, maybe you don't care about them hurting local businesses, Iron Fist, the free market, blah blah, but they're a big faceless corporation with 1,000 branches that stand for nothing. Why go to bat for them? I wouldn't say I go to bat for them, really. Look, there's some upsides to housing a big company like that. What, that we're gonna have a sneak peek in the real-life version of every sci-fi movie for the rest of the company? The Panthea offers something. A thriving community of low-level mom-and-pop shops is nothing on a national level. Home base of one of the largest countries in the company? That's something. Maybe you're right, the Limpo takes a lot of small stacks, knocks them over, makes a big stack. I say good, people take note of the big stack. Am I too drunk, or is that the faintest hint of being impressed with that grunt? Judging by the fact you've already gotten 2 refills, yeah, I'd wager you're too drunk. But yeah, at least that's an opinion, more than I expect from you, to be honest. Well, here's to defying expectations. Kane toasted me and went back to drinking. Alright, so ask me this. Why do you give a shit about how Panthea comes across on the national stage? How does that factor in anything? Oh, I don't know, a little something called citywide pride? Pride for Panthea? Is this the wagon you've want to hitch yourself to? Matter of fact, I do. In fact, I really do. I care quite a bit about Panthea, more than most of these jackasses. You know, my grandfather was a politician. He was a decent part of leaving Panthea into something that halfway resembles a decent city. If you're that into uplifting Panthea, why not go into politics yourself? Yeah, well, given my parental situation, I don't think that's an option for me. Parental situation? Try to in my brain. Oh, right. I vaguely remember something about Kane's father. I want to say he had killed his mother, but to be honest, I wasn't 100% in the situation, and this didn't feel like the sort of thing I wanted to guess on. But yeah, when criticizing Kane, a lot of people jumped to making remarks about his dad. That always felt needlessly cruel. Hate the guy you want, all you want, but don't drag some trauma like that into things. I guess that's true. Sorry for that. Whatever it's worth. It's fine. It's whatever. Probably dead end from the start anyways. After all, it doesn't look like I'm going to be winning any popularity contests anytime soon. And that's even without becoming a politician. Ha, he got me there. I took a sip of my beer and continued my line of questioning. So, what, you think journalist is the best way to help out Panthea? Well, there's a bit more why I chose my occupation than that, Locke, but it certainly doesn't hurt. I lowered my voice a bit. If you love Panthea so much, why not point out the threat the Duats pose? Downplaying it feels like it's going to hurt the city in the long run. I don't know what you're talking about. If you're referencing me mentioning that crime's been at an all-time low, I'm not wrong. Oh, don't give me that. You know that's not a good way of representing things, isn't it? Again, I think you're assuming insecurity when I'm being straight as fucking arrow. I'm in favor of the Duats. You're what? Look, I don't know you, but I'm guessing you don't remember what things were like back when Shikomi were around, or any of the other freak shows. Panthea used to be scarred, a war zone. Now at least, there's order. I wanted to rebuke that, but he was right, I wasn't around for Shikomi. I didn't even know who they were. Well, I got a sense that I disagreed with Kane. I also got the sense that he knew more about what he was talking about than I did, so I decided to continue nursing my beer. Yeah, if a conversation's going a direction you don't know about, it is best to just cut it short like that. But I know as well as anyone it's very tempting to keep going anyways, but... as they say, you gotta know when to fold them and when to call them. And this was definitely a fold 'em situation, and get a new hand, try again, to stick to the gambling metaphor. After a brief bout of silence, Kane spoke up. You know, I didn't come here to talk politics. I came here to forget about it, so why don't you and me have a little bit of fun, huh? I'm flattered, but I don't usually do hookups in a place like this. I'm talking about gambling. I'm saying we should sell things the way we should, over cards. Or what, too chicken to actually gamble yourself? I checked my watch, and obviously knockoff of an expensive brand, there's still plenty of time to kill. It could be fun fleecing this fool some cash. Alright, what the hell, I didn't come to drink, I came to gamble. I'll take you up on that offer. Ah, no, that's what I like to hear. Let me finish the drink first, and we'll get right to it. Both of us finished our beverages, paid, and stood up. Then we made our way to the main floor, looking for an appropriate place for our match to begin. So we figured you'd just sit on the poker table or something? Nah, shit's boring. Let's face off at one of the private tables. Suit yourself. Nahoy's Nest was a bit of an unorthodox setup. Unlike a lot of casinos, there weren't too many tables manned by actual dealers. I mean, there were a fair few, but there were just as many empty tables with nothing but chairs and general gambling equipment. This is for anyone looking for more individualized or personal gambles. Mr. Polydysma was made a fool at one of those tables just a short while ago. It's a bit of an odd setup, much like a lot of the things about this place, but again, I liked it. In my head, gamble should be clashes of will between the players. Dealers in generic games like blackjack and poker don't hold much appeal in my eyes. Two of us made our way to the private table and stood at opposite ends. So, are we playing for money or what? I made a policy to always gamble for money no matter how small. I reached in my pocket and pulled out 250s. Starting fee's 100. 100 for a starting fee? He looked a little startled at this proclamation. At first I thought someone with a big shot job, like being head of the Oracle, must be raking it in, but looking at his attire, it dawned on me Kane might be a little less rich than I originally thought. The slightest ounce of guilt broke, though. Hey, you know what? I think I should say something. Oh. I may not look it, but I'm actually something a pro in this area. Oh, you look it. Thanks. Point is, I don't know what you're expecting, but I'm no chump. If you're playing to win, I'd temper those expectations, and if losing $100 would hurt, maybe we should tone down the stakes. This peace offering didn't go well. Saying it aloud, I would sound a lot more insulting than I intended. Aw, shit. Kane's face morphed into a scowl. Being honest, this one was my bad. Sometimes in life things come out wrong. This was one of those things. Kane reached his pocket before I knew it. He had taken out 4 $50 bills. I'll double it, and yeah. I'm sure, so cough it up if you're so cocky. Couldn't say I blamed him for this reaction. I sort of provoked him, but I also warned him if he's gonna slam down 200, I'm not gonna let it get forced in the mouth. I reached back my wallet and scrounged up another 100. Sounds good to me. I'll even let you choose what we'll be playing. Well, thanks. Kane took a second to think and then had an idea. Here's the thing, Locke, my friend. I know your type well enough. So, you're doing a number on my feelings right now, you know? Oh, my deepest apologies. Anyway, I don't feel great about any sort of standard game against you. I feel like you're likely to rake me across the coals, and even though I just made a big deal about making a real bet, I think my wallet's been a little light lately. More than that, I think I'm just too prideful to lose someone like you. Again, the like you remark isn't really necessary, man. That's fine, what do you have in mind? I think you're a shark, so then I think it's fair play game to test just how good of a shark you are. Part of me wanted to object to Kane's assessment of my character, right as it may be. The greater part of me was more interested as to what he was on about with purpose. So gamble I'm proposing, I'm gonna call it Monkey See, Monkey Do. Had to give it a catchy name, huh? Every good game has a catchy name. Every good article, maybe. I suppose you're more the authority on games than me. Still, I came up with this, so I get to name it. I'm less interested in the name, but more interested in what the hell you're planning on having us do. Getting there, I'm getting there. It's really simple. I'm about to make you a very simple bet. Painfully simple. I'm gonna let you see my whole process, and spoiler, I'm gonna win it. Then you get to do the same back to me. And to be clear, this isn't some trick where you need to fold your tongue 7 times to win or something. Because if it's like that, I don't see a point in this. No, I'm trying to be sporting with this. A little trick I'm gonna do is something you could very easily parrot back to me. Incredibly so, I just think you won't be able to. Oh, this prick. He wasn't just being haphazard, he was trying to hit me where it hurt. He decided to forego typical games and made a challenge my ego. Figured I thought myself sharp, and he'd use this to take me down a peg. This Kane's more vicious than I initially had him for. Still, he made a decent mistake. I didn't think myself sharp. I was sharp. Sharper than anything this hack had up his sleeve at any rate. Alright, sounds fun. Unfair, but that's fine. I need a handicap. Ah, yeah, it's gonna be like that. Alright. Change your tune soon enough. Looks like you're gonna be agreeing to these rules. Sure, what the hell? Great. The smirk, Kane took out a deck of cards. He casually shook them out of the container. Now see, if I was some third-rate magician, this is where I'd do a false shuffle or some shit. 3 problems with that approach, though. I'm not a third-rate magician, I'm about 3 beers past having sort of physical dexterity in my hands. And I know that sort of trick isn't going to win me any favors, so just assume the deck is stacked and emulate it. Correct. So I'll go as is. Kane then took out a worn journal from his pocket along with a pen. He tore a page from it and scribbled something down. Finally, he folded the page, smacked it down the center of the table. We'll get to that in a minute. Now grab a couple cards off the top of this deck, doesn't matter how many. It'd be best for the both of us if we grab less cards than you had fingers. But you know, you do you. Probably want to try and deliberately throw a wrench in his plans, but that wasn't sporting, and I was taking on this bet for fun. I grabbed a handful. Alright, cool, you know. Like I got a little numbers philosophy. A number philosophy? Hell, what's that? Just a little superstition about numbers. You don't have anything like that? I'm not a nerd, no. Oh, don't be a jackass. I think anyone who spent enough time doing math at school, staring at numbers, began to think about them just a little. Didn't do a whole lot of thinking on the whole of school. I can tell. Anyways, I really like the number 9. I think there's some real power in it. They say 3 is the magic number. For me, I think 9 holds some real answers. Like, watch this. Kane began placing down cards on the table in front of us, one by one to the left. Eventually, he had 9 in a row. If you ask me 9 nicely, they'll tell you which you need to know. But I can prove it right now. See, look at this. Kane then reached over and grabbed a sheet of paper he'd written earlier. He displayed it. King of Spades hides a 9. The number of cards Locke drew gives the answer. Well, I'll be, isn't that something? That it is. I had a sinking feeling I knew where this is going. Well, then Locke, how many cards do you have there? I sprouted the cards in my hand. Turns out I'd drawn 6. 6, huh? Alright then. Kane counted out 6 left to right and ended up hovering his hand over a certain card. That'd be pretty cool if this is the king of spades, don't you think? Flip the card, jackass, and get it over with. Trying a bit of fun with it. With a huff, Kane flipped over the card. Sure enough, king of spades. Alrighty then, your turn. Kane swept all the cards and handed the deck to me. I'll give you a moment. He tore out another piece of paper and handed me a pen. I have to admit, it was a good parlor trick. That's what it was, a magic trick. Type laid out in a middle schooler's magic book. Surely I can handle something this simple myself, so let's focus. First, let's stack the deck so I know the order of the cards. Made the top card ace of clubs, next ace. That pattern. Kane had pretty much admitted the deck was prearranged, so this should be within the rules. So I took time to do this, thought carefully about everything, I watched closely. There wasn't any sleight of hand bullshit when Kane was sweeping the cards together. There was only one king of spades. The note was also written from the start. It was never switched out, so it wasn't written after the fact. What did Kane do in this trick? He wrote the note. He let me pick some cards. He then laid out the top 9, right to left. Then spouted some bullshit and opened the note. Then he counted the cards equal to how many I drew, landed on the pre-selected card. Thinking of it that way, the first thing I needed to do in this trick was write the note. Oh boy. Alright, here's my prediction. Watch closely or whatever. I picked up the pen and thought. He wasn't doing sleight of hand, I can confirm that, so what happened? Okay, so what did I know? I chose a card, Kane predicted it. How is that possible? How much information do I have to work with? In other words, when did he know what card I'd end up landing on? It was after I drew a number of cards. Dealt out those cards. Right. Yeah, since he wrote down a card from the very start, he must have always knew what card I'd end up with. In fact, it's not particularly subtle. I mean, randomly ending up with the king of spades. No, that card has too much pizzazz factor. It's specifically chosen. Alright, so Kane knew the key card from the start. How? Well, how was it selected? I chose a random amount of cards, then 9 cards were dealt based on the number of cards I picked. And amongst the 9 was selected. That's a pretty clear customer events, but I was laboring under misconception. Thinking about it, I'm not sure if I had a free choice in how many cards I drew. Not sure of how many cards actually changed. I mean, the two seem related, but at the same time, doesn't the number of cards I draw directly affect which cards are dealt? I mean, both sets come off the top. So every card I drew, that's one card that doesn't get on the table. You need to picture how specifically the cards moved if I want to see through this. The real key to this trick was the magic number 9. The key was that what I took place between when I drew cards and when Kane dealt. Magic number 9 had some super important mathematical quality that made it all possible. What exactly this quality was, I'm not sure. But I mean, that had to be it, right? For the sake of it, I thought what would happen if the magic number had been 10. Would much have changed? Nothing I could think of. Shit. Counted cards. Think about it. If you dealt and counted cards in the same direction, it really would be impossible to predict much of anything. If I kept that fact in mind. Alright, let's reframe this to center around the position of this key card, known from the start. Every card I drew is a card not being played to the right. Therefore, every card I drew essentially shifted the key card one to the right. However, the number of cards counted was equal to the number of cards I drew. For every card I drew, Kane would count one more from the left. A card counted can in essence be removed, so I can treat it as though for every card I drew, I was also shifting the key card. For each one, it shifted both one to the right and left, and no matter how many times I drew, it wasn't changing the key card's position. Ah, Kane, you sneaky bastard. You came with a trick this basic. It ran itself and crumbled under scrutiny. Tisk tisk. Well, thanks for making it easy to replicate your trick. I wrote 3 of hearts on the paper. Then proceeded to follow the steps. Held out the cards, dealt them, counted backwards, and once you know it, my prediction came out correct. Looks like victory goes to me. Before Kane could explain, as he would inevitably want to do, he reached forward and snatched the money from Kane's side of the table. I reached forward and snatched the money from Kane's side of the table. As expected, he tried to grab my arm. You slow, dude. Come on, you must have had something better than that for me. You little shit. Kane, on the other hand, was actually quite irritated. I didn't get it, to be honest. Why was he taking this so personally? If he really wanted to win, he shouldn't have picked such a simple magic trick. If he wanted to win, he could have... But he didn't, because he assumed I wanted... Because I assumed he wanted this to be a sporting competition. So why get this upset? What's your problem, man? It was your gamble. Yeah, and you won. Oh, my apologies. I should have thrown it, asshole. I guess I didn't anticipate you being this experienced being a cheater. Seriously? How are you gonna say I cheated? I don't know, that's what makes you a good cheater. I was frankly a little stunned. The nerve of Kane. I was also starting to learn his words. He might have been more drunk than I thought, and he might have been a worse drunk than he thought. I was playing nice with you. To be treated like this. You know what? Fine. You think I cheated? Let's switch roles. I grabbed the deck of cards and began shuffling it. We're gonna do the exact same thing. I'll let you go first, then I'll go. If you can do it or I can't, you get your money back. I even throw in my half of the bet as well. Really? Yeah, I'm doing this just to teach you a lesson. Cocky shit, I'm gonna teach you to get out while you're ahead. He wasn't even grateful for giving him a second chance. Whatever, this was just kicking someone when they were down. I didn't like to do it, but Kane had made me a worse person than usual. Alright, hope you have a good memory. I reached the middle of the deck and grabbed a random one. I slid it out of the pile, leaving it face down on the table nearby. Neither of us know what this card is. Don't bother arguing with me about this, just trust me. I don't care enough about this pity round to be cheating. I flipped the top card of the deck face up. Now keep up. I flipped up the next card, placing it atop the first, then the next, and the next. I flipped from card to card in quick succession. Unless you had diegetic memory, it was impossible to remember all these cards. Luckily, I didn't have to. I was just adding all the numbers displayed up to my head, dropping in tens digit. 4, 5, which made it 9, 8, which made it 17, which made it 7, Jack, which kept it 7, flip. Finally got to the bottom of the deck. I flipped through all the cards. The count was a 7. The face down card was a 3. Alright then, what's the face down card? Kane just glared at me. You're kidding me. Process of elimination, my dude. If you were smart, you'd get it. Oh, fuck off. Here, I'll make it even easier for you. I flipped over the deck of cards and spread them all out. I'll give you 15 seconds, look at this and guess. I wasn't letting him look through the cards. I was looking at the cards myself, specifically searching for 3s. 3 of diamonds, 3 spades, clubs. Got it. Oh, 5 of clubs. Seriously, that was pretty close, considering it's probably just some guess he pulled out of his ass. Kane had some decent luck on his side. Afraid not, my friend. I put my hand over the face down card. 3 of clubs. I flipped it and voila, 3 of clubs. I don't know what my reaction I was expecting. Kane began chuckling himself. I suppose it was around the middle of the scale. Alright. Fair play. You're better than I gave you credit for, Luck. Thanks, I guess. It's a compliment, don't worry. You know, you got my attention. I'll keep an eye out for you. I tend to hang around dingy pits like this a lot, so if you come by some night, there's decent odds you'll spot me. I think I might just do that, because I'm a sore loser. I want a rematch at a real game. I'll be happy to oblige, Kane. Happy to oblige. That is, if you have $100 on you. I will do. That was an oddly jovial note to end this on. My mind briefly retraced the steps I took with Kane to get to this point. We really went all over the place, emotionally speaking, but I guess we were landing on a sense of grudging respect. To be real, I don't know how much I actually respected him. On the other hand, this was actually a useful connection to have, so sure, grudging respect, we can go with that. This was the thought process interrupted by my eyes catching a very specific person. The man I saw couldn't be described as a head-turner. In a lot of ways, he was pretty unassuming. Low-key suit, short black hair, unassuming build. It was hard to even recognize him with the lighting, the atmosphere, and everything. But no, that was him. That was 100% without a doubt Bach. Man, my luck. Wow. This is fun, but I'm gonna look for another gamble. A less personalized one, just blackjack or something. Cool, you have fun, man. I think I have my daily dose of escapism. Probably best to leave Wonderland and get back to the grind. You do that. Thanks for the company. Don't mention it. And with that, Kane began to walk away, and so did I. But not to a blackjack table like I said, just to a spare wall. I needed to compose myself before moving further. Check my watch, right on time. Finally, Bach showed up. I was wondering if this was going to be the night things were do or die. Back then, this was just hypothetical, but now, when that man nervously ordering a beer from also laid eyes on me, the die would surely be cast. One way or another, I couldn't look back or falter. I'd be on the path. So then, do I bail? Do I walk right behind Kane up those stairs out of this hellhole? Do I get a normal job, a safe life, a stable relationship? I felt the weight of my pocket, the weight of the $200 I'd gotten from Kane. It felt light. Far too light. Like I said, I was hungry. Too hungry to not put things into action. In some ways, I felt bad for Kane, seeing as how much he liked this city, because that man over there, as unassuming as he might look, he's actually a major player in this whole thing. The type that really shouldn't be spending nights in Nahoy's nest, and yet, for whatever reason, did. Type whose disposition would regularly lead them to falling prey to people like me. But that didn't mean he was my mark. No, my mark was the entire city of Panthea itself, and I was going to swindle it for all it was worth. Isn't that a nice little brain teaser I ended on? How on earth do you go about swindling an entire city? Does that mean you swindle each and every member of the city? Because that feels like it needs like an institutional level con. Or is it a little use of credit vis-a-vis butterfly effect? Maybe it just means swindle a city like philosophically. Don't even ask me what I mean by that. I will not answer. Either way, I'm down for it. Swindles are fun, swindles are good. I mean, life's set up to be survival of the fittest. You get separated from your money, that's on you. If you try to pickpocket someone and you get your hand cut off, that's also on you. Meaning of this in the literal sense is you have to deal with the consequence. I mean this in the literal sense, you have to deal with the consequences. I don't really care whose fault it is. Never had to care, haven't lost any money or gotten my hand chopped off. I guess I just admire swindlers because of the confidence they have in themselves. To attempt to swindle someone is to challenge their intelligence and have full faith in your own. I like to think of myself as a pretty smart girl, but I'm not nearly cut out for that level of trickery. I usually end up being a lot more blunt. Proclaim you're gonna swindle an entire city. Well, Locke certainly has confidence. I doubt anyone could question that. I don't know, I struggle to see it. I mean, this dude's picking a chump change fights with drunk reporters using half-baked magic tricks. Can he really stand against the gods of Panthea? Because between you and me, if this dude wants to position himself against this entire city, he's got another thing coming from him. It seems unlikely he'll be able to pull off what he claims. Well, that's the magic of the swindle, right? Having the impossible occur. I compared Locke to a magician earlier, but that's not a bad comparison. Only difference between a swindler and a magician is a smidge of honesty. So will Locke pull a rabbit out of his hat, or will he fall flat on his face? Either way, I'll be entertained. Here's hoping you are too. Do I want to see the final person here, or continue Locke's story? Let's crack open the final deck, shall we? Who is this person? Bad beat. Krish. So at this point, I'm kind of thinking, this shit's boring, right? Like, nothing's happened for a chapter straight. It's just an explanation of what's been going on. Some of that's warranted, right? I mean, I want to know what's going on, and for something like this, somebody's got to lay it out straight. It's impossible to just figure it out through action alone. But I mean, at a certain point, it just gets annoying. Like, wrap it up, sheesh. Anyway, this is right when the book's starting to lose me, but then, instant, they shed their clothes and take off their wig, boom! Turns out she was actually the heiress all along. And for a moment I was thinking, whoa, I didn't see that coming. Suddenly the climax is a lot more prepossessing. Captivating works just fine. Alright, so we're playing as Vels, whoever this is. Captivating then. So yeah, now I'm into it. Hold on, I like to take a second to think about it. Does that make any sense? Like, there are two separate places. You don't see them at the same time, it's fair enough. But they're always in both places whenever the main character enters the room. Hell, the chances of that. Well, they're just sprinting from place to place all the time? Wouldn't they be seen at some point? And on that note, the mansion was filled with the girl's family. Like, it was a disguise or whatever, but like, the visitor interviewed all of them. Are you telling me the girl's father, who lived with her for decades, wouldn't know something was awful over the week the visitor was snooping around the house? And the problem was, it didn't have any foreshadowing. So even though it invoked temporary surprise or excitement, it fell flat. I do remember being pointed to a George R. R. Martin that could point out that mentioned that sometimes authors can get too excited about trying to surprise people, so that when readers start figuring it out, they try to change it. Like if it was meant for the butler did it, but then everyone figured that out too early, so they changed it to be the gardener. But if you do that, then nothing beforehand makes sense anymore. Maybe that's what happened here, or with whatever book Krish here read. Are you sure it didn't have any foreshadowing? Maybe just didn't pick up on any. Also a legitimate way to happen. Sometimes you just miss it, and it's not especially obvious, or it's not especially obvious, and so you might have overlooked it, thinking nothing of it. I mean, I thought back and couldn't remember any, but even if there was, it didn't really matter to me, because my bigger question was what the twist even does. Like, narratively speaking, the author could have written the visitor character out completely and nothing would have changed. It didn't help any tricks, it didn't obscure the truth, it doesn't even play into the whole arguing sisters subplot that dominated almost all their other scenes. In the end, the only function of having the visitor was to reveal they were actually the heiress. I don't think that's good writing. Yeah, sounds like. To be honest, it was hard forming any meaningful opinions. Not like I read the book myself. That didn't stop Krish from talking all about it. I'm gonna be honest and say I'm pretty sure this is how most of my friends are when I speak with them about games I were playing or streamed. I mean, I went on quite a bit about the Zodiac trial for a while afterward to stick to this particular developer's work, and I'm pretty sure they were pretty lost, since only a handful have played Zero Escape or Danganronpa or stuff like that. And not that I mind, it's not like I was going to be reading some random book anytime soon. Just to make for a particularly interesting conversation on my part. Whatever. I didn't have it in me to tell him, so I just let Krish rant. Something to listen to while the two of us made our walk through Panthea. I enjoyed spending my free time with Krish, for the most part. Whenever we both didn't have anything going on, a rare occurrence, I liked hanging out with them. They're optimistic, and a trait I didn't share, but one I admired. And they knew their way around the street scene of Panthea. It was useful to a relative newcomer to the city like me. We were an odd pair. Krish would describe their fashion style as fresh and hip. Well, they'd be right in a certain decade, but not mine. As for me, I sported a simple, distinctive red hoodie. The fact I kept it low might have suggested the random passerby I wanted to keep a low profile, but that idea clashed with the fact that it was a sleeveless hoodie, which means it showed off the lightning spiral tattoos on my arms. It was unlikely anybody would walk by us and have some opinions one way or another. My question is, why do you read so many of these books? Why talk about them to me so much, though I kept that question to myself? It's stupid to write, you first must read, and that's some famous writer, I'm sure. Yes, stupid. Hey, fuck off. I'm bad with names, okay? My point is, if I want to actually make it as a successful writer one day, I have to have a big pool of shit to draw from. While that can help, at the end of the day, you do need to put pen to paper more than anything else. It's why a lot of people who can easily criticize a story to find what should or should not work, but then make a pretty weak product of their own. Then I gotta like analyzing junk, figure out what works and what doesn't. And that'll actually make you a better writer? You serious? Sorry, I'm just not really knowledgeable with that sort of thing. Of course it makes me a better writer. If I didn't, I wouldn't be doing it. And you know how I know it's useful? Because I make sure of it. Every story I read, usually learn at least one lesson or get a good idea about something. Whenever that happens, I make sure to jot it down right here. He then proceeded to pull out a small green leather notebook. Where were they keeping that? That was too big to be kept in the pocket. They have it tucked away in the side of their pants or something? At this point, it's full of good shit. And I assume you'll be actually working on a book soon then? Ah, yeah, you know, definitely, soon enough. Hey, why are we talking about work now? For now, we're talking about your hobby. Right, now it's time for relaxing. That's why I'm taking you to Smith's. It's the best place you can go to in Panthea if you want a good lunch on a budget. That good, huh? Hadn't been to Smith's yet. Obviously, it's top tier. I mean, doesn't hold a candle to my old pop's old cafeteria. But for the options we have now, yeah, it's my definite go-to. And it'll be yours too after today. Because at this point I looked ahead a bit, then I held back a sigh. I thought about things. I could see the next couple minutes playing out in my head, and I didn't like it. Well, who knows, I'm not a psychic or genius. Maybe I'm wrong about this. So Smith's a really cool place to hang out? Yeah. Fun place just to de-stress. Just to de-stress? Yeah, I'd say so, sure. Interesting. I'm gonna be honest, Krish, those three up ahead don't exactly look like they're having a chill time. Oh, what do you mean? I pointed up ahead to what I was referring to. Outside the restaurant, a rather ugly scene was playing out. Two larger men were in an argument with an older guy, and it looked like it was going to get violent pretty soon. At first glance, you wouldn't think the older guy would be in that much trouble. He wasn't ancient or anything. I'd place him in his late 50s. Hey, looking good for late 50s, but his opposition was clearly more than he could handle. On one hand, you have a skinny dude in a leather jacket with a crooked smile and slicked black hair. With the punk's confidence, not to mention he had suspiciously stuffed in his pocket. I bet hard money he had a weapon on him. On the other hand, you had this larger dude in a dirty white beater and slightly too loose pants. Hard to differentiate what was fat and what was muscle, but it was clear he had both. More importantly, the younger pair both had the posture of an experienced brawler. So yeah, if a fight did break out, which was the sort of vibe I was getting, I put money on that duo any day of the week. What on earth? Hey, that's the owner of the restaurant. That's no way to treat someone. Who knows, maybe the owner started it. Krish didn't even dignify this with a response, just a bewildered look. The rushed over the scene. So far on track, I begrudgingly picked up my pace to keep up with them. As I approached, I began to hear an argument. Pretty quickly, I got a decent picture of the situation. Well, these guys don't even have portraits, then. You know what? I know it. Why are you wasting our time? It's the principle of the thing. Everyone this day and age has forgotten the power of principles. Well, I haven't. I could be the last person in this damn city with principles and I wouldn't bend the knee. Principles ain't gonna count for shit when your shop's burned to the ground. Hey, whoa, easy. Look, man. It's a good deal. Just take it. I don't want to see anything happen to you. Something could be will be happening to me if I no-toe to a bunch of no-good thugs like you. Yeah, you tell them. Krish popped in, simultaneously catching their breath. Shopkeeper looked over, their face morphed to a scowl. Okay, interesting. This is different from my predictions. Oh, for the love of... What's with all the troublemakers today? All of you just leave me alone. You know we can't do that. Bro, he's got a point. The white beater pointed a meaty finger at Krish. You got no place here. Right, that's true. Official business meetings are going on right now, kid. This isn't the time to come in and barge in like that. Just get lost, will ya? Official business? I don't see any contracts around. Any contracts to make business deals. Then Krish turned to me and spoke in a hushed yet satisfied voice, like they'd just... point. I've also just been reading some John Grisham. I just sighed, knowing that things were still on track. Verbal contracts, kid. Yeah, don't talk shit. So then, who are you doing business on behalf of? Let me guess. The Doo-Wop Venture? This is Doo-Wop Venture? The pair looked at each other and cracked a smile. Wow, a real wise guy we got on our hands here. Yeah, we're Doo-Wop men, so you should know to back the fuck off. Nah, it's because you're Doo-Wop. I know I need to step in. Step in, huh? That's really interesting. Got an interesting guy here. How's he gonna step in? Like this. Krish suddenly rushed towards him, fist clenched. Unfortunately, loudly announcing your plans to attack has its drawbacks. Whitebeard moved in the way and clenched his teeth. He took Krish's blow and clearly expected to hurt. However, after a moment, he realized that was actually Krish's punch hadn't much damage at all. He then retaliated with a two-arm right to Krish's chest, causing him to stumble backwards. As Krish floundered to regain a fighting stance, the smirk transformed into a full-on laughing fit. Oh man, for a second there, I thought we picked the wrong fight. That's really all you got? Well, show you got, dickhole. Krish began to rush forwards again. However, they stopped when I put a hand on their shoulder. Hughes looked at me. Just stay back. Krish had a lot of spirit, probably a good amount of experience too. However, just speaking straight up, they didn't have a fighter's build. At first, Krish was a bit hurt by my words, but then they ran through a very real possibility of getting the shit kicked out of them and realized I was right. Reluctantly, Krish walked behind me. This is very amusing, the leather jacket guy. Boy, really gonna chicken out that quickly. What kind of man tries to poke their head into something just to back out the first sign of danger? While you shit talking, I just closed my eyes and clenched my fists. Well, looks like I was a genius after all. Things played out exactly how I predicted. What a pain. I really didn't like fighting. Often it results in me getting hurt, which was lame. It was dangerous and again lame. Usually things could be resolved in safer and more effective methods, but this was the situation I found myself in. Alright, first up was Whitebeard. He looked pretty confident, having already landed a punch on Krish. Good. Cockiness was a poison. I watched him reel up. Kick, headbutt, elbow, grapple. Punch wasn't on there. Whitebeard took a swing right at my head. Effortlessly, I swung under and responded with a swift kick to his gut. Man stumbled backwards. We can end this now. My plea fell on deaf ears. Whitebeard immediately sprung back up with rage in his eye. Damn, this is gonna be annoying. Kick, punch, headbutt. Elbow was not there. Whitebeard came rushing in, looking to send his massive elbow to the side of my head. I caught the blow with relative ease. Despite the man's size, strength was actually lacking. I needed to make a show of power and fast. Fights don't last long, especially against amateurs like these. With his arm grasped in my hand, I reached over and put it over my shoulder. Then with all the effort of my stride, I flipped the man over me, sent him crashing to the ground. Usually I wouldn't have the strength to lift such a massive beast, however momentum was on my side, and as I bent down it was more of a fall on his part than a flip. Before I could admire my handiwork, however, I caught something inside of my eye. Punch, jump kick, elbow, headbutt, regular kick. Leather jacket wasn't content to let his body take a beating. With both hands still in his pocket, he kicked right at my side. Luckily, I noticed the attack before it was too late and intercepted by punching straight down his outstretched leg. Oh. Leather jacket back agitated. A coward like him wasn't likely to keep fighting after too much of a beating, but an asshole like him wasn't likely to surrender while he still had his pride. Leather jacket was already preparing a counterattack. Meanwhile, I noticed Whitebeard was already back on the right. Shit, both attacking, which to prioritize. Left punch, left grapple, right kick, right punch. I pressed him to grab me, I couldn't let that happen. While maintaining eye contact, leap right in the chest. Then I struck out forward, slamming with a straight punch to the face. He stumbled backwards, I turned my attention to the beater. I put 3 punches to the stomach, then finished the kick, staying in the ground. That should deal with one, but Leather jacket... You little shit. In a slick motion, the man took out a switchblade knife and spun around. Then he went for me. Slash, stab, strike, slam, cut. My muscles moved to react before fleeting jump. I felt pain. This usually meant I was making a mistake. It also usually hurt like shit. Though it would hurt less than the mistake I was about to make. Slash, stab, strike, slam, cut. Man was attempting a straight up and down slice at my chest. It was a tricky attack to avoid, so I didn't aim to avoid it. Instead, I threw a punch right at the hand holding the knife, intercepting it mid-attack. He recoiled the blow, letting go of the knife. Caught it mid-air with my hand and swung out, nicking the arm pretty badly. The knife was the Leather Jacket's trump card. This should be over now. I dropped the knife and for good measure slammed Leather Jacket one more time right in the face, sending him to the floor. Like that, the fight was finished. 2 combatants sprawl on the floor. 2 of them were in a bad state. Meanwhile, I was doing my best not to breathe too heavily. The less effort it appeared I exerted, the more leverage I had in negotiations. I haven't even taken out my knife yet. I'd leave while neither of you suffered any major injuries, and while I'm going to let you just flee. Their faces hardened. This might not be enough. I leaned in and spoke in a harsh voice, one that Krish and the restaurant owner wouldn't be able to hear. I'll have plenty of time to try this later. Keep pushing the issue while I'm here, however. I'll have to push back. This seemed to have much more of an effect on the 2. Nervously, they look at each other, each trying to gauge the other's reaction to my proposal. Then silently, the 2 got to their feet. Without even parting remark, they began to walk away. After a few paces, they walked into a run. It wasn't long before they were sprinting. Tails tucked between their legs. Oh, that sucked. I really didn't like fighting. Stay out. Timely, Krish. Very timely. Crack my neck. Man, I didn't really feel like fighting. Damn it, Krish. Hey, we showed them what we're made of, eh, Vels? Yeah, I'd say. Restaurant owner very nervously approached with the makeshift cover he hopped behind. Thank you too, really. I'm grateful for your help in the matter. I'm sorry I judged you too harshly. Had you not appeared, I'm not sure what would have happened. Oh, no need to thank me. Really, I did nothing. Accurate, Krish. You did do nothing. It wasn't a big deal at all. I'm not sure how to pay you back for this. Ain't it obvious? We were coming to have a meal at your place. I think a free lunch would be a fitting reward. Wow, shameless. Declaring your desired reward to be matter-of-factly really dampens the selfless hero vibe you're going for, Krish. Well, I guess. By the owner's face, I could tell he was also somewhat put off by this request. Still, he shrugged his shoulders. Alright, that's fair enough. Alright, then have a meal in the house, but just don't order too much. Oh, trust me, we will. Then Krish began laughing at the joke only they found funny. Meanwhile, I decided to handle more important matters. I turned to the restaurant owner. It's likely won't be last with those guys. We just bought you a bit of time, and you can't count on the help of random strangers to keep you safe for long. In fact, from what I can tell, nobody can really keep you safe from the Duats. So I'd heavily consider what you intend moving on from here. The restaurant owner looked a bit shaken at this. Had he really not considered this yet? Well, thanks for the advice. I'll go back to work now. Without another word, the man turned his back and went back to the store. Dick. Well, might as well. Oh shit. Instantly I pulled down my hoodie to make sure it was low as it went. Then I turned around and pulled Krish by the arm. Well, let's have lunch. Hey, you two. Mind if I take a minute of your time? Ah, damn it. Approaching from behind was Kane Shea, a reporter. He's probably looking for a scoop, some article to write about, and we just provided exactly that for him. Damn it, if I had known someone like him was lurking around, I wouldn't have bothered stepping in. Just my luck, the one time I tried to do a good thing, there was somebody here to document it. I kept my hood down and tried to enter the restaurant, but Krish had other plans. Of course, what do you want? Just took 3 steps away and kept looking away. Well, I was doing some normal rounds of the place and just so happened to catch the whole scene. Honestly, that was incredible. Really impressive stuff, guys. And seeing how many complaints I've been getting about it lately, I think it's high time I actually put out a piece on the Duats. So I'm wondering if you two wouldn't mind giving me a quick interview. Be a huge help. Kane put his head down pleadingly. Of course, I'd be happy to help. And remember, he's in league with the Duats. He approves of them, rather. This is like a literature adjacent experience, right? I mean, it wouldn't be requiring you to actually write anything down, but I'd be writing something down, so kinda. And besides, I'm just happy to be interviewed. Awesome. What about your friend there? Kane pointed to me. I'm fine. You sure? Had some impressive moves. I'd like to hear your story. I don't really have one. I don't really want to do an interview. Oh, just ignore Vels. Vels is real shy. Wouldn't appreciate being recorded. You feel me? Hey, I respect it. I was pretty shy as a kid. Actually, first became a reporter to try and get better at talking to strangers. Really? I mean, it was a reason. Anyways, I guess I'll have to settle just interviewing you. Settle. Hey, didn't mean anything derogatory about it, just that this business 2 witnesses are better than 1. Well, fair enough. Alright, give me a second. Kane began fishing his pocket, took out a recorder and pressed play. Wouldn't you just use a phone to record things in this day and age? How old was Kane? So, who do I have the pleasure of interviewing? Hey there, my name's Krish Devaki. They, them. I'm a Pantheon born and Pantheon proud. Oh, another native. And one with actual hometown pride. I can respect it. Honestly, all those people on this place really got on my nerves. Really has issues, but the people here are awesome. Anna says Panthea's gone downhill and needs to get better. Krish, my friend, I couldn't agree with you more. So then, born in Panthea, what was your family situation like? Well, I was raised by my dad, Vashnu. Yeah, okay, yeah, the theme naming here. Yeah, Krish is supposed to be like Krishna, Vashnu is like Vishnu. Definitely getting the theme they're going for here. Unfortunately, my mother died when I was pretty young, so I never knew her very well. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Losing your parents at a young age, so... Yeah, well, like I said, I never knew her that well. Hard to feel that bad. And he who pops around this really sick cafe really had to be there. It was great. Oh, he doesn't anymore? No, unfortunately, it closed down. Anyways, I don't have any siblings, so my family's always been Pops. In a way, I always treat a lot of Panthea as my family. I like that, I like that. What do you do now? Right now? Well, I didn't do too good in school. I had no money for college. So I'm just gonna go for a part-time job to part-time job. Finding work wherever I can, trying to stay afloat, you feel me? Kinda hard in our with our economy how it is now. Right now. Definitely. Are you hoping to settle down for a permanent place anytime soon? I'm gonna become an author, actually, but that's kind of a pipe dream. So I don't know how reliable something like that could be. Realistically, the chances I pull it off are pretty low. Hey, don't talk like that. I'm not gonna bullshit you and say you have great odds or anything. But I've heard plenty of stories of people who regret never taking that shot when they could. You're young, you have youth. This is the time to try and fail. The fail bit ain't really necessary, no. Well, for all of his flaws, Kane does have a point. You do miss 100% of the shots you never take. Like I said, kid, I gave the truth. Well, thanks. Alright then, moving on to the main event. Mind describing what occurred here? I mean, there's not much to explain. The assholes were harassing a poor Pantheon citizen, someone who didn't do anything wrong. I figured it was pretty bullshit, so I stepped in and did something. I have to say, most people wouldn't just step in and do something. I suppose. I wasn't looking, but I could tell Krish was giving a shit-eating grin about now. So you kept the peace by force. I mean, I had to. You saw those assholes being super uncordial. Uncordial is putting it lightly. I'm in favor of kicking some ass personally. Used to be the fights were just things that could happen. Then we as a collective got a stick up our asses and started getting litigious. So why do you think those men were harassing the restaurant owner? Ain't obvious, those were Duat boys, and they were shaking him down for protection money. Protection money? What's that about? You know, paying dues, cost of business for selling on Duat turf, if you heard it from them. If anything, I think it's Panthea turf. It's both. They gotta pay tax to the government, gotta pay protection to Duats, so protection, what does it actually entail? I believe the Duats, protection from other criminals and any other issues. If you pay, the Duats will help you out, deter any third parties from messing with you, and solve certain problems that get in the way of your revenue stream. In exchange for that, protection money. Ah, so do the Duets have a point? I mean, it sounds like a decent service they provide. They'd have a point if they didn't harass stores that didn't accept the protection money. Problem is, you don't have a choice to say no. Not really, when there's that insane power balance at work. I see, so you're saying it's more like extortion. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Otim. Blackmail? No, extortion. The X makes it sound cool. Alright, so Chris, some people say the Duats have been getting worse lately. Right. Oh, you agree with this? In your opinion, what do you think is causing the rise? It's obvious, ain't it? They don't have anyone putting the checks on them anymore. Used to be the Duats were pretty in a nasty feud with the Shikome. Before that, it was the PCTL, something like that. Point is, the wars came and went, the Duats are still standing strong. Only thing that's keeping them in check is the police, only they haven't been doing a good job of it at all. Probably because the Duats have gotten better working around the police. They've become large enough to have alternate solutions to problems the cops present. And this Duat dominance, you believe it to be a bad thing? I mean, yeah. My pops actually said he kind of likes it better this way. There's a lot less conflict in the gangs. Likes the type to leave bodies, but I don't know about that. Something rubs me the wrong way about letting a group like the Duats do whatever the hell they want. Yeah, I can see that side of things. Alright, that's enough for me to work with. Thanks for lending me your time. No problem at all, glad to be of help. The two continued to talk for a bit longer. Krish asked Kane some questions about the literary world. Kane seemed to try his best to be useful. Then before too long, Kane turned around and left. Oh, thank God. You know, Kane's actually a pretty cool guy, not all like I heard. You knew about him? Of course. What Pantheon hasn't? Well, you can be special. If that's the case, why did you do the interview? I want to give my 2 cents. Why'd you hide in the corner the whole time? Because I didn't. Now come on, let's just get lunch. I just want to move the conversation along. Krish was eager to acquiesce. 2 of us entered the restaurant and got a seat. I have to admit, there was a nice ambience about the place. Sort of an old-time diner vibe. Hopefully the food is decent. Krish assured me of that much, but I knew better than to trust their opinions. As we were ordering our meal, I noticed somebody walking over to our table. I audibly sighed. What now? Krish, who was looking the opposite way, didn't know what I was sighing at. Because of that, they came to the quite reasonable conclusion I was sighing at them. What, you don't like this place? You haven't even eaten yet. You're not allowed to judge. Besides, they're getting a meal for free. As far as I'm concerned, coming about a free meal is a surefire something's gone wrong. Just wait, okay? I didn't bother correcting the misconception. I was too busy trying to analyze the approaching man. I couldn't quite get a read on him from his looks. Before I could come to an opinion, however, he reached the table and spoke up. Ah, Krish, I thought that was you. Hey, Mr. Yi, what are you doing here? I'm here to have lunch. Oh, right. Duh. So how have you been? Oh, he's one of the leaders of the Duats. Been a while since we've had a chat. In fact, I don't think we've talked since I've left Panthea. You know, we haven't. I'm doing good. I mean, reasonably so at any rate. Getting work at least. Well, that is most important. Quote Freud, work is man's most natural love. Although to be fair, Freud was never particularly lauded as a philosopher. He was just the first quote that came to mind. Freud did a lot of important work towards laying the groundwork for future work, but his pretty much everything he did has been, let's just say he wasn't actually that good now that we look back with our modern insight. But someone had to be the one to break ground. The pioneer always has the roughest time, I think the saying goes. Point is, it's good that you are employed. Youth of our age ought to have a job. Well, or in my case, jobs. Yes, well, whatever gets the job done, yes? So, who is this you are eating with? Oh, this is Vels. I met Vels not too long ago, but we've hit it off. So I figured I'd show off some of the best restaurants in Panthea. A wise choice. By the way, shame about your father's cafe. When I heard about it closing, I was deeply wounded. His place was my go-to for breakfast. Yeah, it sucks. But you know, we're holding up good enough. Good, good. He turned to me. Well then, Vels is it? Pleasure to meet you. My name is Yi Giles. I nodded at him and mumbled a greeting. Nice to meet you. I could notice Yi being slightly put off by this response. Oh, don't worry, Vels just doesn't like talking much. Though, Vels, you seem particularly quiet today. Krish was also shooting me a look. Whatever. It's too soon to tell for sure, but I got the vibe that I didn't want to show off too much of myself to this Yi fellow. Yi, for his part, seemed to accept this explanation. A colleague of mine is quite similar in that respect. I admire someone who only speaks when there is only something worth saying. Whereof one cannot speak, thereof one must be silent. Nice quote. Ludwig Wittgenstein. Interesting fellow, that one. Yi turned back to... I did get the sense Yi was pretty well read, back in the other timeline, back in the other storyline, so I guess it makes sense he'd be good friends with Krish over their mutual love of reading. However, we now know that because of that story, we also know Yi cannot be trusted under any circumstances, and I mean any circumstances. So, Krish, I couldn't help but notice your encounter outside the window. You're being interviewed for something? Oh, right, that. Kane Shay just wanted an interview with me after I kicked some gangster ass. We'll look at Krish. Seemed like right a bit. Can me challenge me. If you want to say otherwise, speak up. I put my eyes down. Sure, take the credit here. You clearly want it. Kicking some gangster ass. You never change, do you? Oh, I've changed plenty. I still have a decent conscience. I just still have a decent conscience. Well, that's one thing of yours. It'd be good not to change. Thanks. Not a compliment, Krish. Not to make you repeat the story, but what exactly gangster ass did you kick? Oh, well, you know. I noticed Krish beginning to stall. Huh? That felt weird. They'd be eager to boast at that point. Why were they stalling about giving any details? Whatever caused Krish temporary pause, they eventually continued. Earlier, the restaurant was being harassed by some Duat members. They were pushing to accept protection offer. Clearly wasn't interested, but they persisted. The members threatened to get physical. Intervening was only right at that point. Interesting phrasing for Krish. Virtuous path, right? Indeed, the Duat members were really threatening the restaurant owner. How disheartening. Yeah. Okay, I needed more info, although I guess I had what the underlying cause of awkwardness between the two might be. A strained awkwardness I'd felt from the beginning of the conversation. How do you feel about the Duatsi? Bells. What? I want to know ye better. It's a topical question. A slight smile crossed Ye's face. My thoughts on the Duats, huh? How to answer that, I wonder. The truth is an object of philosophy, not always a philosopher's, huh? Bells, that question is a tad complicated. After all, technically speaking, I am a member of the Duats. Oh, seriously? Oh, so he does know. Krish looked down. They're clearly already aware of this. Yeah, that figures. I knew he got a vibe from this guy. As a matter of fact, at this point, I occupy a decently high position in the Duat's chain of command, though I attribute that mostly to be one of the few with any real higher education to speak of. Organizational and mathematical skills are, perhaps unsurprisingly, few and far between with these people. I clearly haven't been sent, certainly haven't been sent on many field missions. Right, that doesn't strike me as your style, Mr. Yi. Very much not so. Though they feigned a positive tone, Rish was clearly uncomfortable speaking on this topic. I could read between the lines. Krish knew in some extent respected Mr. Yi before he became a Duat. On a personal level, Krish likes Yi quite a lot, but also on a personal level, Krish loathes the Duats. At some point, Krish must have heard about Yi joining them. The inability to reconcile those two beliefs is messing with them. So before now, they were trying to steer around the topic, and I pushed in the forefront. Maybe I should have thought ahead a bit more. He also seemed to sense the awkward atmosphere inside. I had hoped to avoid this topic. It's not a particularly pleasant one. More silence. My position is certainly a delicate one. To answer your question, Vels, I do hold quite a bit of contempt for the Duats. He does? You do? Naturally, you didn't hear this from me, but their brutish methods have only increased as of late. I mean, at a certain time, the Duats actually acted as a sort of defender for... At a certain time, the Duats actually acted as a defender force for the city. Home for the homeless. At another time, there is simply another, less legal business. The distinction between them and Olympos seemed negligent, morally speaking. However, at current time, they're slowly morphing into something of a noose clasping around the city. Yeah, exactly. Who really talks? Fucking easy, Krish. Hold some cards close to the chest, I decided to interject. If that's the case, why are you still a member? At this, Yi let out a sad little chuckle. Why, indeed. As I mentioned, my position's quite delicate. Never intended to join Duats in the first place. Given the circumstances of my return to Panthea, I wasn't really afforded the option. Then I performed my duties. Now I'm at my position, simply retiring is, well, on every level, it's a troubling process. But at mine, it's even more contentious than usual. Why would it be something of a lie to say I was struck, and also to be something of a lie to say I wasn't? Stuck was also a lie to say I wasn't. There was a genuine sadness in his voice as he lamented. Sorry, to some extent, he was drawing from reality, but I couldn't bring myself to really trust this man. How much of what he was saying was the actual truth? How much was just what Krish wanted to hear? Well, if he was hoping to win sympathy, it worked. Seriously? That's horrible. I believe it's rather standard. After all, it is a criminal organization. I'd have a word with some people if it was an easy job to leave. And it's not like I'm completely blameless in all this. Like I said, I have circumstances returning to Panthea, circumstances and some part of my own doing. Yeah, but still. Honestly, if the Duats could be hampered, I would be in favor of it. Really, because... like, that's not an impossibility. Oh. I know people, people who had enough with the Duats. Like, I ain't exactly a strategy type who knows what to do with these people. But I mean, if you're a Duat and you're smart, surely you have some suggestions. I don't know about that. Truly, I have some ideas, but I have to think on it. No, of course, take whatever time you need. No rush or anything. This is certainly something worth thinking about. I don't want to lie to you, Krish. I do quite prioritize my own personal safety. I'm not exactly eager to do anything that's likely to get me killed. I don't want that either. Good to hear. What if there's any way we could maybe, I don't know, bring the Duats back to the right track with your help? Think about it. Oh yeah, because remember in the other timeline, Yi had made the Duats bigger than ever, specifically because he had convinced youths to join them in whatever they wanted. Well, the organization could be very much be changed from the inside. It has to be from someone in the lead, so someone in Yi's position. But as we saw, Yi has absolutely no intention of doing anything other than making it another money-making scheme, just with a bit more muscle behind it. As was shown by the fact that while he doesn't do a field work very often, he didn't hesitate when they actually called him in to do so. And I'll meet with you again soon. No, really, it's absolutely not right that I haven't spoken to you in this long. That'd be great. You know, whenever you want to hang out, just hit me up. Well then, I don't want to take any more of your time. I'll be on my way then. He turned to me. It was nice meeting you, Vels. I'll keep an eye out for you. I kept my head low. Likewise. Just like that, Yi walked out of the restaurant. Well, that was a thing. For my part, I was just really wishing I had stalled coming to this restaurant like 5 extra minutes. Krish, on the other hand, had gotten quite excited by the possibility of teaming up with Yi to make a move against Duats. I mean, can you believe our luck? No, I can't. But yeah, we're really lucky. I mean, getting an in with the Duats. He's great. I knew he could be counted on. Why was I ever doubting him? You were doubting him because he joined the Duats, Krish. As for the record, I think you should still be doubting him. Seriously? You heard what he said. He didn't have a choice. So he claims. You think he made that all up? I think he might have made some of it up. Ah, Navagov, I'm serious. Look, he left Panthea to teach ethics at some college. Ethics. And he came back to Panthea under some circumstances that forced him to join a violent gang. You're just being paranoid. Maybe. I admitted this earnestly. I absolutely had a paranoid streak. Lands upon backups. On some level, I was proud of that paranoia. Paranoia is just a word for preparedness. I'm just saying, stay sharp, okay? When ain't I sharp? Case in point. Eat shit. I might, depending on how good this restaurant actually is. At this, Chris laughed and we were able to put the argument behind us. From there, we ordered and ate our respective meals in relative silence. Some casual conversation, but nothing particularly interesting. For what it was worth, Krish had been right. Smith's made a pretty decent burger. Nice cool milk, too. I made a note to come back here sometime. The shopkeep made good on their promise for a free meal, too, so yay, being a good person got rewarded. Go me. Krish and I then left the restaurant. Well, that was fun, but I'm afraid I can't hang out any longer. Got another gig starting in an hour. Got it. Just fun hanging out. Really? Yeah. Well, it's nice to hear. For the record, if I didn't have fun hanging out with you, I'd stop hanging out. Yeah, I know that. I'm just happy I got you to actually cop to it out loud. It's not something you've done when we first met. Not something you'd have done when we first met. Yeah, well, don't get used to it. I'm never used to anything. That's probably why no one's able to catch me off guard, because I'm always on my toes. If you say so. Next time we meet, I want you to have an actual concept for a story fleshed out, prepared, okay? I might. I'm serious, Krish. If you don't start making actual steps, you're never gonna write anything. I got it, really. Actual concept next time. Understood. See ya. Bye. And just like that, they turned around and started making their way to whatever job they had. Meanwhile, I turned around and started heading the opposite direction. If I remembered Panthea's geography well enough, a questionable prospect to be fair, my place was actually perpendicular to the direction Chris came from. But I figured putting some distance between the two of us before I started making my way back wouldn't hurt. Honestly, I wouldn't put it past that idiot to pretend to be going to work just to try and stalk me back to my place. They seemed to be getting pretty annoyed that I refused to tell them where I actually lived. I knew where they lived. After getting a bit further, I turned down an alley. Walking down the alley, I turned down another. Then another. I waited for a few seconds, and after checking the upcoming corners, I resumed my walk. Luckily, there was a shop with a big glass windows at the end of the street, so I could see behind me without too much issue. Nobody was probably following me, but you can never be too careful. These steps were necessary to make sure you weren't being trailed. I checked my phone. Gosh, really? I was hanging out with Chris too much. I didn't have time to be spending this many hours doing nothing. I took a deep sigh. Thought back to the conversation I had with Krish pretty recently. They said they loved Panthea, but it was harder to do so lately. They said that they thought on some level Panthea was rotting. How incredibly sad. Even Krish could tell something was wrong. If only they knew the half of it. Rotting? Panthea was rotten. Deeply so, in a way that sucked in everybody. Thought about Krish. They were likely to be a liability. At this point, if I were smart, I'd cut them off. But I wouldn't, and I wouldn't come to regret this decision until much later. Well now, isn't this just an interesting little scenario we found ourselves looking in on? Christian Vels, we got some characters close to the ground who can hear what's really up with Panthea. Always appreciate, always appreciate. People's views are always inextricably linked to their position in life. No getting around that. Having a perspective removed from any position of power or information may, paradoxically, get closer to seeing the truth of things. Just my 2 cents, at any rate. Let's go ahead and save again real quick. At the very least, we got to follow a character who can kick some ass. In our modern civilized society, fighting is a skill undervalued despite it historically being key. I applaud Vels for not letting the dying art of martial combat die out. Us fighters need to band together here. And good on the Duats for providing some generic thugs to beat down on. Unabashed Evil is also underrated. It provides some guilt-free targets to punish and abuse. I mean, we all crave the suffering of others. It's human nature, the greatest form of schadenfreude. I was about to say that's a concept there. Since most of us are moral creatures, watching innocent people suffer tingles our guilt receptors. But if they're bad people, we can watch their suffering with pleasure. How convenient. Thank you, Duats. Well, I suppose it's not all Duats. For instance, Yi seems like a good bloke. You ask Krish, anyway. Ask Vels, and Yi's just as shady as any other two-bit gangster. Vels may not have a lot of faith in Krish's judgment capabilities, but then again, isn't that the arrogance of Vels? Krish has known Yi for far longer. Wouldn't they have a better understanding of the situation? Skepticism is healthy, but an excessive dose is paranoia, and Vels' view is bordering on that. Of course, I also don't think paranoia is negative either, but let's just roll with the common sensibilities for the moment. So the question is thus, a Trupsy or not, do you think he has Krish's best interests in heart? No. Ah, what a sad world you must live in, but okay, guess accepted. Let's bet on that. Come on, you had to see this coming. This is the perfect time to cast a bet, so let's gamble. What are you betting? I'm reasonably faithful in that. Ah, feels nice. Feels nice to have a proper bet going to establish stakes. Okay then, let us continue then. Alrighty. Well, looks like it's been about 3 hours, so I think now is a good time to call the stream. Alright, well until next time, thank you for watching, hope you had a good time, and I'll see you later.